I am Deepika here. I'm an educator with Unacademy and this is my colleague Ranganath.
Good afternoon, guys.
Now we are going to basically first analyze the trend of this year. We are going to tell you how questions, from which subject, how many questions have come, and a general opinion of ours with regard to the paper. We both believe that the paper has been a little unconventional. It is not the regular pattern, and we also believe that the key will not be too far, but it's too early to predict the key or the exact answers. However, we are trying our best to give you the nearest possible key. So we are going to discuss all questions along with the trend analysis. We would like to begin with the trend analysis. Anything that you would like to ask us, any comments, please let us know. You can post it in the comment box because we are also seeing the comments. If there is any question from your end, we would be glad to answer.
Yeah, guys. So, yeah, it's Kondala. See, UPSC stood again by its word of unpredictability. So, it's more than unconventional. It's actually what I call untraditional. So, pretty unexpectedly expected type of wave. So, some questions were pretty...
There's a voice issue. We are just checking, students.
Some of these questions were pretty lame, pretty...
Voice issue.
Just 1 second. Is it fine now? You able to hear now? Okay. So yeah, as per the trend we see, from the questions point of view, the balance again kind of shifted away from last year. This year, if you see, history, art and culture went way above what was generally expected. This time we had like 20 questions. 19 questions came from history and 1 from art and culture, the languages question. And even with polity. Yes, ma'am. With polity?
18 questions. Actually, this time there has been a lot of focus on polity and history. Together is 38 questions. So 38% of the paper is history and polity. And
yeah, the others, geography, environment. If you see, current affairs also gave a little shoot to, from last year, this year, there's a 50% up in current affairs. Last year there was only...
Technology has been consistent.
And yeah, pretty much. If you observe the last 5-6 years, see this. The overall consistency kind of remains the same, around 15 to 20 questions period for the traditional subjects, which is geography, your polity, your 4 core areas. They kind of are maintaining the same standard. So that part is pretty sure. And with history, the total unconventionalness was straight move into the medieval India. So there was a big move into medieval India. Unlike as expected by people every time, they just went into medieval Indian history questions. Modern India, there was only about, I think, approximately 3 questions. So we are at this point in terms of the key, we will tell you, but since it's the initial period, so it is still, since it's an unconventional paper, there needs to be a lot of cross-checking, reverse checking with the questions. But yeah, otherwise, it was as per the standards of UPSC.
Undoubtedly, it was as per standards of UPSC. As far as polity is concerned, I think even polity questions have not been very conventional. What I feel is those terms which have been constantly in news, like parole, judicial custody, these have been focused more. So the take from the questions is you have to be generally more aware. They are not just focusing on the subject, they are focusing on the general awareness also. Whenever a term related to any of your subject comes in news, it is very important that you check the background of that term. So the paper has been general in the sense that there has been not a lot of focus on subjective questions. The same has been with science and technology also. There is a general feeling that the questions are unconventional. Geography, environment also the same. So, if we have to talk about the conventional part of the paper, maybe 35 to 40% of the paper was conventional. The rest of it was very, very unconventional. Now, This is the last 6 years comparison. As you can see, one conclusion that I would like to give on the last 6 years is the 4 core areas: polity, history, geography, economy remain important. They will always account for 60 to 70% of your paper. So you have to have very strong basis in these 4 core areas. That is very, very important.
And see, based on my early views of the question, my early views of the paper, as we say here at Unacademy, it is not the book, it is the subject, it is the topic, and UPSC is clearly emphasizing on this. If you see the questions, it was not from any particular specific book or any specific paper, or you can't say from this book this question came. It was just all over. So they wanted you as an aspirant to be prepared with the concept, with the subject, with the topic as per the syllabus, not the textbooks. UPSC from the past, last year also they did the same, and that is how it was in 21. This 2018 paper. 18 paper also was exactly the same.
18, 20, 20
This 3 papers specifically completely unconventional, non-book based. If you're somebody who's like, okay, I'll read this book and I'll write the exam, so something is wrong, or somewhere your advice has gone wrong. I mean, somebody has given you the wrong advice. It's very, very clear. Okay.
Vinay, as far as the cutoff is concerned, initial analysis of ours says that it won't be beyond what it was last year. But as I said, it is too early to predict the cutoff because it is relative competition. We need to also know how students have been performing across the spectrum. So, we need to know how students have been performing across the country. We'll need some time to give you a more nearer cutoff. But as far as we understand, it will be like last year. Last year, the way the cutoff was around 92, 93. So probably it will be like last year. Right. Now, let's start with the history questions first. Rangnath will give you the history key. Once history is done, then I'll come back. I'll join back for the polity analysis. Thank you.
Okay, guys. So for now, just give me 1 second. Yeah, just to avoid any mic issues. So the voice is clear, right? Okay. See, let us quickly see the questions of history. So at this point, I'll give you the question answer. Detailed explanations with the sources, etc. I'll do in a special class in the evening today. So do attend that. We'll be giving specifically the sources from where these questions came. So that part is working. So one of the first questions is, with reference to Chausat Yogini temple situated near Morena, consider the following. It's a circular temple built during the reign of Kachapagata dynasty. It's the only circular temple in India. It was meant to promote the Vaishnava cult in the region, and its design has given rise to popular belief that it was inspiration behind the Indian Parliament building. Which of the statements is or are correct? See, it's a Shiva temple, and yes, it was built during Kachapagata dynasty, and fourth, that's why the answer is C for this. So at this point, I've cross-checked it. The answer is C for this question. Okay, so 1 and 4 are correct. The question is asking which of the following are correct, and it is 1 and 4. Next question, which one of the following ancient towns is well known for its elaborate system of water harvesting and management? By building a series of dams and channelizing water into connected reservoirs. Dholavira, Kalibangan, Rakhigari, Ropar. See, this is a textbook question, straight from the textbook. It's Dholavira. Okay, answer is A. In the first quarter of 17th century, in which of the following was or were the factory or factories of English East India Company located? Bharuch, Chikakol and Trichinopoly. The answer will be 1615, Bharuch, along with Surat, Agra, along with Surat and Bharuch, 1615. Answer is A. Since the question is asking first quarter of 17th century, which is about 1600 to 1625. Okay. From the decline of Guptas until the rise of Harshavardhana in the early 7th century, which of the following kingdoms were holding power in North India? Guptas of Magadha, Parmara of Malwa, Pushyabhutis of Thaneshwar, Maukharis of Kannauj, Yadavas of Devagiri, Maitrakas of Vallabhi. Now, two things must click in your mind when you're reading this. One is North India. So, Yadavas of Devagiri central gone, Parmaras of Malwa west gone. So, that's why since they're asking North India, the answer will be B, which is 1, Guptas of Magadha, Pushyabhutis of Thaneshwar, Maukharis of Kannauj, Maitrakas of Vallabhi. 1, 3, 4, 6. That's the question. And next question. According to Portuguese writer Nunes, the women in Vijayanagara Empire were expert in which of the following areas? Wrestling, astrology, accounting, soothsaying. See, this is a traditional, conventional Vijayanagara practice of UPSC. UPSC definitely tends to ask one question from Vijayanagara that could be any depth, peripheral question or deep down question. This is one of the deep topic questions. All the 4. Nunes writes a very good doctrine about how women were in Vijayanagara state and how they were doing all the jobs. They were regarding wrestling. He wrote an entire thing. So a detail of this I'll tell in the evening special class. Okay. At this point we are limited with time. I need to check a lot of questions with reference to Madanapalli of Andhra Pradesh. Which one of the following statements is correct? So the question is asking correct. Pingali Venkaya designed tricolor national flag here? No. Machilipatnam. Pattabi Sitaramaya Quit India movement? Not. Rabindranath Tagore translated national anthem from Bengali to English. Here he also sung it here in a song format. So answer is C. The answer is C for this question. Consider the following pairs: Burzahom, rock cut shrines; Chandra Ketugad, terracotta arts; Ganeshwar, copper artifacts. This is a straight factual question, guys, on the spot. There's no real big choice here for you to analyze the question. The answer is 2 and 3. Answer is D. So Burzahom doesn't have rock cut shrines. It's much before. Ketugad, Chandra Ketugad, terracotta. There's a book source for this. I'll tell you the source in the evening. Consider the following statements. It was during the reign of Iltutmish that Genghis Khan reached the Indus in pursuit of fugitive Khwarizmi prince. It was during the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq that Taimur occupied Multan and crossed Indus. It was during the reign of Devaraya II, Vijayanagara Empire, that Vasco da Gama reached the coast of Kerala. Which of the following statements given is or are correct? Answer will be only A, guys. This is because statements these are correct about Mitakshara. Mitakshara. Question number 40. This is set A. Question number 40. Mitakshara was the civil law for upper castes and Dayabhaga was the civil law for lower castes. In Mitakshara system, the sons can claim right to property during the lifetime of father, whereas the Dayabhaga system, it is only after the death of father that the sons can claim right to the property. Mitakshara system deals with the matters related to property held by male members only of a family, whereas Dayabhaga system deals with matters related to property held by both male and female members of the family. Now, since the question is asking which of the following is or are correct, answer will be B. Only 2 is correct. Okay. 1 and C are not, 1 and 3 are not correct. Bhavabhuti, Hastimalla, Kshemeswara were famous. Now this question, this is a very tricky question. You may get with the type of names that they have, you may tend to be inclined towards putting them as Jain monks. That's why they've given it in option A. It's actually playwrights by All India Congress Committee. Viceroy's Executive Council expansion, ministry resign is 1939. So this one is little far away. So answer will be 43rd. Answer is A. Who among the following is associated with songs from prison? A translation of ancient Indian religious lyrics in English. Now this is I consider this to be the most unconventional question of this year's paper. I mean, this is completely off the book, off the records, from nowhere. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, 1934. This is completely okay. With reference to medieval India, which one of the following is the correct sequence in ascending order, means increasing order in terms of size? Naturally, that's why Pargana, Sarkars and Suba. Suba is the bigger province, Sarkar Chota, and then Pargana is further smaller. Who among the following was associated as secretary with Hindu female school which later came to be known as Bethune female school? Straightforward answer. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. So this was again straightforward question. In the context of colonial India, Shahnawaz Khan, Prem Kumar Sehgal and Gurbakhsh Singh Dhillon are remembered as, now you know the three leaders of Indian National Army, the officers, INA, those who got Dhillon, Gurbakhsh Singh Dhillon, Shahnawaz Khan, they were associated with INA. Straight fact question, answer will be D. With reference to Indian history, which one of the following statements either are correct? Nizamat of Arcot emerged out of Hyderabad state. Mysore kingdom emerged out of Vijayanagara state. Rohilkhand was formed out of territories occupied by Ahmad Shah Durrani. 1 and 2 are definitely correct. I'll give you a very good reason for this. We have source detail for this in the evening class. Answer is A. Okay. Rohilkhand, nahi. This was there before. Which of the following statements is or are correct? Ajanta caves lie in the gorge of Vargu river. Sanchi Stupa lies in the gorge of Chambal river. Pandav Leni, Nashik wale caves, shrine in the gorge of Narmada river. Amravati Stupa lies in the gorge of Godavari river. This is a question where they try to kind of mix up between geographical with history. Answer is A. 49th question. Answer is A. And with reference to India, the terms Halbi, Ho and Kui pertain to, they are actually languages, tribal languages. Answer D at this point. So those were the history questions, guys, 20 of them. Now as I said, if you see the pattern of the questions, nearly all of these were somewhere in the medieval India, ancient India, and that too medieval Harsha to Tughlaqs, and then again there were some questions between 1700 to 1857. So that part of history which students generally tend to ignore, UPSC has focused on it. Now those were the history questions. Now let us quickly begin with polity questions. Okay, and we will, the polity key is ready, faculty will come and they will check the polity series of questions. Now that part, yes, 20 questions. Okay, so what should be your plan or strategy for handling this? See, simple strategy, guys. Take the topic, read the topic. The book is irrelevant. The days of the book are gone. It's very clear, UPSC is emphasizing on this. The book is the specific book, sir, ye books I want to read from this book. Is this book sufficient? That question from now on is out of syllabus. Is this book sufficient? No, it is no longer. No single book is sufficient. Having said that, let us quickly see the polity questions. Okay, I'll pass it on to ma'am.
Hello students, I'm back again. Now we are going to basically see the polity analysis. As we know, there have been 18 questions from polity. The questions have been quite unconventional, no doubt about it. Questions have been unconventional, but again polity is a subject where the risk is always mitigated because you will have ample direct questions also. And if you notice, there is one question that has been constantly asked for the last 2-3 years, that is about the purpose of the constitution. The purpose of the constitution is limited government. That has been the emphasis since beginning. So let's look at the questions that have been asked. As I said, it is 18 questions. Karan, anything to do with, you have asked how to relate polity questions to current affairs. Anything to do with anything in news with regard to laws, anything in news regard to polity, whenever a term is used, it is very important that you have to know the meaning of the term. For example, judicial custody is something that has been constantly in news. Parole is something that has been constantly in news. So, you know, when you come across such legal terms, curative petition, you come across all these legal terms, it's always better to know the meaning of these legal terms. That is very, very important for you. Okay. Polity, Uma, has been 18 questions. Polity, they've been consistent. They have, it is always in the range of 12 to 20 questions. So, polity is 18 questions this year. We will. We are going to Zoom. They are just opening the polity part of the slides. We are going to Zoom. Hi, Ria. Hello. Nikhil, 1 minute. One after the other, Sayan. Once polity is over, then you'll have economy analysis, you'll have geography, environment, science and technology, current affairs. Everything will be done. So don't worry. It is one area after the other. Jack, as I said, it is too early to predict the cutoff because, you know, the paper has just come. It is relative performance, so we have to get the idea as to how students have been performing across India. But looking at the paper, I mean, when we analyze, we teachers, I believe that it is going to be the same as last year, around 95 maybe, because the paper, as I said, is not traditional. अनिल, सबसे पहली चीज़ आपको याद रखना है कि आपको पेपर, you know, this is an English stream, so I will not be using Hindi. You have to read the paper properly. You have to focus on fundamental things in the paper, basic essential terms, as I said. If you notice, even in other areas, they've been asking questions on terms. So it is about how diligently, how carefully you read the paper. Newspaper is the most important part. Maximum questions are from history. We've already done that. Now polity is ready. We are going to start with the analysis. Let's look at the questions. Now before I start, I would like to tell you all, now whatever key we are giving is tentative. It is closest to the correct option. We are going to give you a detailed explanation along with the source in today in special classes, the link of which is shared in the comments in the description. Please click on the link. Please join the special classes for a more detailed explanation. Okay. The level of question 1, this is a very simple question. It is based out on Supreme Court judgments. Over the last 3-4 years, if you notice, every year there is at least one question based on Supreme Court judgments. So, Supreme Court judgments basically related to fundamental rights, where they attribute some new right, they construe a new right as a part of fundamental right. There you will have questions. Now, this is related to Justice Puttaswamy versus Union of India, and the answer is C. Article 121, sorry, Article 21, right to privacy is declared as a part of Article 21. Moving on, the next question, 80. This is a question which you can answer through elimination method because the options, this is based out on RP Act. In India, there is no law restricting the candidates from contesting in one Lok Sabha election from one Lok Sabha election from 3 constituencies. It is not 3. In 1996 reforms, they restricted it into 2. Okay. So, 1 is incorrect. When 1 is incorrect, I eliminate 1 and 3. Alright. Now, in 1991 Lok Sabha election, Sri Devilal contested from 3 Lok Sabha constituencies is correct because then it was allowed. Okay. As per the existing rules, if a candidate contests in one Lok Sabha election from many constituencies, her party should bear the expenditure of the by-elections. This is not a rule in India, it is proposed by Election Commission of India. It is a proposed electoral reform which has not yet been approved. Okay, so this is wrong. 1 and 3 are ruled out, which means this is also ruled out. The first one is also ruled out. We are left with B as the answer. B is the correct answer for this. Okay, this is basically based on RP Act. See, you know, this question tells us one thing, that the exam does not have prelims and mains. It is a holistic exam for which you have to prepare in a holistic manner. So, you know, if you have left out RP Act thinking that it is a mains topic, answering this would be difficult. Now, moving on, let's look at the next question. This is again one of those unconventional questions. I would say that this is current based question because it is based out on one term which is continuously in news, that is judicial custody. Now, the first statement says judicial custody means an accused is in the custody of the concerned magistrate, correct, and such accused is locked up in the police station, wrong. He is locked up in jail. He is not locked up in police station, he is locked up in jail. If it is police custody, we say it is police custody. If it is with the police, we say he is in police custody. During judicial custody, the police officer in charge of the case is not allowed to interrogate the suspect without the approval of the court. This is correct. The reason why this is correct is, see, you know, this part is wrong, therefore the statement is wrong. The reason why this is correct is court specifically says this person will be in judicial custody for 14 days. However, the police can interrogate this person every day from 9 am to 1 pm. So, they specify the time. Without the permission of the court, you cannot interrogate. That is the reason the answer would be B. Okay. Moving on, the next question. One minute, we are continuing. Till then, if you have any doubts, we just completed this question. Now, the next question. This is again about a very important term called parole. Okay, it has been in news for a long time. Even during COVID, there was an argument on whether prisoners can be sent out on parole because of COVID and all that. Parole is basically a legal term where a prisoner can be sent out permanently or temporarily. The first one says when a prisoner makes out a sufficient case, parole cannot be denied. This is incorrect. The reason why this is incorrect is parole is subjective. The freedom to give parole is with the governor. So, you know, governor, president, you cannot, there is no condition that once, you know, under these situation you have to give parole. There is no compulsion that parole has to be given. So, this is incorrect. State governments have their own prisoners released on parole, prisoners released on parole rules is correct. Sanjay Dutt case is an example to this. So, the answer would be B. 2 only would be the answer. Alright. Now, moving on. I will towards the end. Sambhav, I am going to. Praveen, the sources will be disclosed along with a very detailed explanation in special classes in the evening. Okay, we have already shared the link in the description. Please click on the link because, you know, we are authenticating all the answers that we are giving again. We want to give you with the source of the question, with links that substantiate the answer. That is the reason we have special classes in the evening. Now I am just giving you the key and, you know, giving you a very brief explanation about the questions. Now moving on, the next question. 84 talks about the Forest Dwellers Act, which has been constantly in news. Supreme Court has also given a judgment on it. Which ministry is responsible for the Forest Dwellers Recognition of Forest Rights Act 2006? The answer is Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Okay, because it is forest, many people would have marked it environment. No, it is Ministry of Tribal Affairs. This question tells us that we have to know who is responsible for implementation of many laws, which ministry is responsible. This is very, very important. All right, now moving on, the next. Which of the following in Indian polity is an essential feature of federal form of government? See, federalism has 5 to 6 important features. Whenever you say federalism, there should be 2 governments at least, 2 levels of governments at least. There should be independent judiciary, there should be division of powers, there should be a rigid constitution, supremacy of constitution should be there, bicameralism should be there. If you know these things, you can answer this question very easily. This is a subjective question. We'll start from the last. The fundamental rights are enforceable by court of law has nothing to do with federalism, because the question is about federalism. The minute we say federalism, you have to remember center and state. The union cabinet can have elected representatives from regional parties? No. Okay, the union legislature has elected representatives from constituent units? No. The answer is independent judiciary. Independent judiciary is essential to resolve disputes between center and state. It is an important feature of federal form of government. This is a subjective question. Now moving on, the next question. Now this is a question that is based out on political science, the definition of the word state. There are four attributes of a state. State is a feature of the modern period, modernity, they should have a state. State will have 4 attributes. One is population, the second is territory, the third is government, and the most defining attribute of state is sovereignty. In modern period, sovereignty is the most defining feature of a state. Okay, so out of these 4, this is first ruled out because it talks about culture. The reason why it is ruled out is culture. When we use the word culture in political science, we will have to talk about a nation. Okay, nation is a term that is attributed to culture, ethnicity and so on. So this is moved out. Now, this is also moved out because there is no rule that there should be a central authority in the state. This is also ruled out. This is ruled out because it says politically organized people of a definite territory and possessing an authority to govern them, protect, maintain law and order, protect their natural rights, safeguard their means of sustenance. But it is not talking about sovereignty. Now, out of these 2, when you read these 2 options, the first one is the closest to these features of a modern state. Okay, a community of persons, population, occupying a definite territory, independent of external control is sovereignty, possessing an organized government is government. That is the reason A would be the right answer. Okay, now moving on, this is the key. With reference to Indian judiciary, consider the following statements. This is again subjective and this is about retired judges. The first is Article 128. It is based on Article 128. It is about retired judges. Any retired judge of the Supreme Court of India can be called back to sit and act as a Supreme Court judge by the Chief Justice of India with prior permission of the President of India is correct. Okay, Supreme Court judge can be asked to come back and sit and adjudicate a case. This proposal can be made, this request can be made by the Chief Justice, but he has to take permission from the President before he does that. It is clearly picked out from Article 128. A High Court in India has the power to review its own judgment as the Supreme Court does. This is actually reiterated by Kerala High Court in one of the judgments that it has given in 2021. Okay, and the basis for this answer is Article 226. Okay, so this is 88. The answer is C. Now moving on, the next question. 89. With reference to India, consider the following statements. We know that citizenship has been a very hot subject in India. There have been a lot of questions on citizenship in India. So we are going to, we were expecting a question on citizenship. This is based on the constitutional background of citizenship. Okay. Now this, there is only one citizenship and one domicile. This is correct. India provides for single citizenship. Now, before you even start answering, always look at the options. There is none of the above option, which means one of the statements essentially should be correct. This is correct. A citizen by birth only can become the head of the state. Nowhere it is written. You just need to be a citizen of India having completed 35 years of age. These are the only two qualifications mentioned in the constitution. The third one, a foreigner once granted the citizenship cannot be deprived. No, this is incorrect, can be deprived. What if he conspires against the state? He can be deprived of citizenship. This comes under the Citizenship Amendment Act, Citizenship Act 1955. Okay, so the answer would be A, one only. Okay, now moving on, we are coming. This is a very direct and simple question. Very direct and simple question. We are going to, state is directed to avoid concentration of wealth through which of the following? Right to equality? No. Right to freedom? No. Concept of welfare? No. It is DPSP, it is 39C. Article 39C is the basis. What is the position of the right to property in India? This question is simple, but you have to think properly and answer this question. Okay. Now, this question is again a subjective question. This question is again a subjective question. Here we have, it is based out on 300A, Article 300A. Right to property in India is a legal right available to citizens only, legal right available to any person, fundamental right available to citizens only, neither fundamental right nor legal right. First strike this off because it is no longer a fundamental right. Neither fundamental right nor legal right. This is also not correct because it is a legal right. Now, out of these two, which one will you choose will be based on the content of Article 300A, which says that no person, you know, we always emphasize that you have to know what is given in the constitution, what is written in the constitution as it is. No person shall be denied the right to life, right to property except by authority of law. Person is specifically mentioned in 300A. Therefore, person is specifically mentioned in 300A. Therefore, the answer would be legal right available to any person. This would be the answer. Alright. Some of the polity questions undoubtedly are easy, but some of them have been difficult. So, you know, it's a mix. I would not say it is all easy or all difficult. It is a mix. Okay. Now, this is about right to property. See that if you notice the questions that we have discussed, there has been a repetition. In fact, the next question is a direct repetition of what has been asked earlier. Okay. So, let's look at the next question and then I'll tell you what all questions have been repeated. What was the exact constitutional status of India on 26th January 1950? This question can be answered if you have studied the preamble well. Studying preamble is very, very, very important to understand this. If you have really studied the preamble well, then you will know the answer for this question. Okay, in the preamble on 26 January 1950, when the constitution commenced, we have a sovereign democratic republic. This is the answer. Today we have a sovereign socialist secular democratic republic. Sovereign socialist secular democratic, socialist and secular, these two terms have been added by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. This question was asked, the order of these words and inclusion was asked many times earlier. This is a question which you can easily answer if you have practiced previous year question papers. Okay. Now, the next question that we have, this is a repetition. Yeah, this is a question that has been constantly asked in your exam over the last few years. See, you know, in polity, there is a lot of emphasis on the general concepts, you know, the core concepts they are emphasizing a lot. They want the students to be very clear about the core concepts. So, that is the reason why if you study the core concepts well, it is good. The purpose of constitution, we call it as constitutionalism. The idea behind the constitution, the purpose of constitution is to have a limited government. Okay, when you have constitution, the government will not have too much of powers. There will be no concentration of powers. There can be no misuse of powers. In the process, the citizens do not suffer. So this question is based on the purpose of constitution. Constitutional government is one which is based on the constitution. Okay. A representative government of a nation with federal structure. There is no rule that if you are a constitutional government, you should have federal structure. There is no rule. So this is ruled out. A government whose head enjoys nominal powers. This actually happens in a parliamentary form of government. It happens in a parliamentary form of government. A government whose head enjoys real powers is related to presidential form of government. So, a government limited by the terms of constitution is the correct answer, because the basic purpose of the constitution is to ensure that there is limited government. All right. Okay. Now the last question, once I am done with this, I will just share a strategy with you as to how you have to prepare polity. What are the key takeaways from polity questions in this year? We will just look at that. Now 96 is actually not pure polity, it is, but we have put it in polity basically because it is talking about Article 18 Clause 1 of the Constitution. That is the reason I have taken it in polity. Now the question is on Bharat Ratna and Padma Awards. Bharat Ratna and Padma Awards are titles under Article 18 Clause 1. What does Article 18 Clause 1 deal with? It basically deals with abolition of titles. 18 deals with abolition of titles, and 18 Clause 1 specifically says that the state cannot give any titles. State is not entitled to give titles. So basically, Bharat Ratna and Padma Awards are not titles, they are awards. There is a difference between an award and a title. Title is something that you prefix to your name, it indicates your social status, and title is an ascribed one, meaning it might be given to you because you are born in a particular family, it could be descent based, whereas award is not ascribed. Award is basically a recognition to your services to the society or for your accomplishments. Not any, you can't, any Tom, Dick and Harry cannot get a Padma Award or a Bharat Ratna. There is certain criteria to be met with. Only when you contribute in a particular field or do something, you get an award. So award is not a title. So you cannot flaunt it by putting it in front of your name. There is a very important case called Balaji Raghavan versus Union of India. In this case, Supreme Court very clearly said awards are not titles. If you use them as awards, if you use them as titles, your award can be taken back. Karan, I am going to talk about it. Wait, let me just finish with the last question. I will quickly tell you what to read, how to read, what you should do for polity. Now the number of the second, so this one is incorrect, you cannot use it as title, period. Second one says Padma Awards which were instituted in the year 1954 were suspended only once is correct. The third one says okay, what they have marked is wrong. The third one says the number of Bharat Ratna awards is restricted to a maximum of 3. Not correct, correct. R3. This is also incorrect. So, the answer is 1 and 3. Answer should be 1 and 3. Alright. Okay, with this we finish the polity questions. Now we are moving on to discuss what should be your strategy for polity. Okay, what should be the strategy for polity? I'll just tell you what are the key takeaways from this year's exam. Let me put it simple. The first thing that you have to do, required for polity, essential for polity, is please remember that you have to first be very strong in your basic concepts. There are a number of words that you use in polity, like sovereignty, constitution, polity, okay, secularism, democracy. Then we say parliamentary form of government, republican form of government, federal form of government, unitary form of government. So there are so many basic terms that we use. These basic concepts, subjective concepts, you should be very clear. You know, when you are reading these, don't just read to understand the meaning of these terms. Try to differentiate between the terms. Why are we saying India is federal, but also saying that India is parliamentary form of government? How is it that India is a republic, and why is it that Britain is not a republic? So when you start contemplating, concepts become more clear. It is easy to apply them in the exam and answer. So this is the first thing that you have to do. The second very important thing that you have to do is please read the articles at least once. Constitutional provisions. Today's paper, there were 2 questions on constitutional provisions. 300A was a direct question on constitutional provisions. No person shall be denied of his right to property, of his property, except by a procedure established by law. So please read the concepts very, very carefully. Anurag, it is 18 questions. Okay, I am changing the pen color. I am sorry, I didn't realize that it was. Oh, I have a choice of only 3 colors. So let me see if I can, this is more visible. Yes. So constitutional provisions is the second thing. The third thing that I would request you to read is with regard to current affairs. Any term, any law in news, you have to know the meaning of that term. You have to know when there is a law, you know, the agency implementing it, key provisions and ministry which is responsible for it. Okay, very, very important. The third important aspect is SC judgments. And one more caution that I would like to tell you is, please don't think that current affairs is only what is given in the newspaper, what is happening right now. Current affairs for UPSC is not just what is happening, but it is also about what is behind it. Matlab, you know, you should know the backgrounders in detail. So whenever there is an editorial in the paper, please do not miss it. There are many questions in today's paper, not just in polity, but other subjects also where editorial has been the basis. So we request you not to miss anything in the editorial. Reading the paper will help you answer a paper like this for at least 25 to 30% of the questions. So I request you all to please carefully answer, you know, read the question paper, try to note the key terms and so on. Now coming to the sources, the most important source again remains, you cannot replace NCRTs. NCRTs are very, very important for prelims. Every year there will be at least 4 to 5 questions in various subjects, you know, together in various subjects that come from NCRTs. So please don't give up on NCRTs. Prateek, you have to go by the options that we have. Okay, I'll just take you back to that question. Prateek will discuss it again. Now, these are the essential things that you have to do for polity. As far as I'm concerned, I would only suggest that, you know, polity is not a subject that can be mugged up. Polity is, you can score better when you understand the subject. So try to understand the concepts. Reasoning out in polity is very important. Why is this there? Will give you a lot of insight, will give you a clarity on the concepts. Now, I'm going back to this question on right to property. Coming to your question. Now, right to property is basically based out on Article 300A. All right. It is a legal right available to citizens only. Legal right available. See, you have to understand that legal rights, many people do not know this, is a larger classification. Okay, constitutional right is a subset of legal right. Legal rights are divided into constitutional rights and statutory rights. Okay, those legal rights which are given in the constitution become constitutional rights. Those legal rights which are given in the statute become statutory rights. So all these are legal rights. Please don't think that legal rights is different, constitutional right is different. Constitutional right is a subset of legal right. If I have to say these are legal rights, then one part of it will be constitutional rights. The other part of it will be statutory rights. This will be constitutional. Within constitutional, we will again have a division. In constitutional, again the division goes like this. These will become fundamental rights and these will become other constitutional rights. So this is how it is. Please remember that legal rights include constitutional rights. Any more questions? I think I'm done with polity. I hope the key was clear. I hope the explanation was easy. Now before I conclude, I again repeat to say that in the evening there will be special classes on the platform where we are going to discuss in detail the key. We are going to discuss in detail the key, and we are also going to tell you the source of the question and give you, if there is any discrepancy in the answers that we have shared, we are going to also talk about that.
Yes, guys. So, yeah, after a long time, actually, one thing which we as educators and our content teams and everything have come down to is, this is going to be a lot of work. Okay. It is, the key is going to get time. I mean, accurate, appropriate key with the sources, with appropriate sources is going to take a lot of time. And we've got to talk to a lot with Google Auntie. So she's got to help us a lot because she's already, everybody is pinging her and she has absolutely no idea what is happening. So things are pretty complicated. I mean, yeah, while ma'am was talking, I was checking with the keys and I was checking with the book sources and everything. I actually realized not a single question from history is from a standard book. Not a single.
It's an amazing realization.
Not a single question is from the standard book. Not one. I mean, everything either is from newspaper or is from a blog or is from just outright somewhere. Like, for example, the question where if you check, you know that songs of prison. That's actually a question that's about a book which was published in 1934. And after that, probably even Gandhiji forgot about it. We don't see any reference to it. Okay, that's funny part. Okay, that's what happened. And yeah, I was cross-checking a lot. And in fact, many questions, I was working with the content team in Bay, I checked this. See, they've purposefully given option A as the best wrong answer. At least in history, that's what they've done. Again and again, they've given option A, and like where you're like, option A, I'm excited and I'll answer it.
This question which is being displayed, polity. This question which is being displayed, polity, this is also very easy. It's a loop. You fall into it very easily. Legal right available to citizens only. There are many questions where option A, Forest Dwellers Act, the first option given is environment. Since it is saying Forest Dwellers Act, 90% of the people will go for environment ministry as an option, but actually the option is tribal affairs ministry. So yes, you know, A has been a trap.
Yes. Anybody, if you have anything you want to discuss with me, you can obviously tell me. I mean, you can quickly put a chat. Now, I mean, just to take your opinion, how did those who write the exam feel? I mean, how did you feel? What do we do to clear history, clear exam? History is always a matter of concern. History is then always a matter of concern because everybody comes, every aspirant who comes, who says, sir, what is that book I should study? And that's enough for the exam.
There is no one book.
UPSC proved that you should not do that in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. So from now on, I've just implemented a policy. I've told students, if you're coming to me asking me, sir, what is a one-stop solution? The best one-stop solution is leave it.
Guidance for history for a fresher.
Guidance for history for a fresher. See, you see the Nuni's question, the Vijayanagara Farna Nuni's question about women. That kind of actually about Nuni's is there in NCRT, but that's a little in depth. You need to do your own Google around. You need to go check a lot of blogs, check a lot of PDFs of, and actually in one of the, I think DDU Central College PDF BA history book, it is mentioned. That's something we go very much in depth.
No, but the point is, we are not trying to scare anybody. Please remember, we are just telling you, all said and done, you don't need 200 out of 200 to clear
Yes.
the exam. If you answer 50% correctly, without any negative marking, you clear. So it's a mixed paper.
See, for those appearing 2022 and for those who are asking me, sir, how to study newbies of history, you know what I would do if I was you? Immediately after this session, I'll attend the evening special class. I'll check the sources. Then tomorrow morning, first thing I'll do is take out the syllabus, take out a book, write down the syllabus in a book, chapter to chapter, topic to topic. And your guide for your entire preparation until your interview is the book, is that book, the register where you wrote the syllabus. So you're supposed to read the topic, not this. You may read from Romila Thapar, you may read from Satish Chandra, you may read from Bipen Chandra, you may read even go from R.G. Bhandarkar, Lane and Poole, or Wisely and Wooley, up to you. You go to any publisher, any book, the topic is specifically important. Do not, we have to stop the approach of going towards a book. That is very clear from this paper. See, I wouldn't say books are helpless. Books are good place to start, but not to end. The problem with aspirants is they start with a book and end with the book. You're not supposed to end with that book. And that's why take it as a comprehensive preparation. Learn the topic, not the chapter. Learn the subject, not the book. So it's completely relevant from where you read, from whom you read. That's very clear in this. Okay, how will be the cutoff? I don't know, ma'am.
Basically, I've been repeatedly saying this. It is a relative performance. The exam is a competitive exam. The meaning of competitive exam is it is relative performance. So please don't come to a cutoff conclusion right now, because we have to be getting reports from Pan India as to how students have performed, what has been the general opinion. They will check the keys. They will tell us how much they are scoring. All this has to happen before we arrive at a very close cutoff. But as of now, tentatively looking at the paper, we think it is going the last year way. The way it was last year, the same will be the case. We will look at it as 95, maybe 95 to 100, but definitely not beyond that. I mean, we are sure of it not going beyond the last year.
Yes. Anything decent, I would stick to exactly around 95. I mean, being safe side. But yeah, don't expect
a massive increase is not possible.
That's not going to happen. And oh yes, that's one thing. Yes, of course, Pratyo. Yes, it looks like, see, the way I saw it is, it looks like UPSC wants you to go the preparation optional way with all subjects. So with history, with polity, they've gone the depth. Now, again, I tell this always in my students in the classes, there is nothing for you to like or dislike. This is not your marriage. This is your syllabus. People come to me and say, sir, I don't like ancient India. I was like, what is there to like in ancient India? It's a syllabus you have to study. And UPSC has proved in medieval India. I was emphasizing the entire year to the students at my in Unacademy classes. I somehow have a strong feeling that it's going to be medieval India. I'll tell the reason why we do this. Long years ago, 15, 16, it used to be modern. And in modern, they went into these committees. Then when everybody used to study modern, they went to ancient India. And ancient India. Suddenly they brought modern in 2016. Then again they went to art and culture in 18. So now, medieval India has been the ignored child of UPSC prelims for the last 5 years.
And students have taken it so easy now that they are hammering on it.
They simply see, and even in medieval India, I'll tell where the mistake people do. Most people don't study those parts of medieval India which are important, like Harshavardhana period to the Tughlaq period, and Aurangzeb death to 1857 revolt. Late medieval, early modern, late medieval, late ancient, early medieval. These parts are comfortably and conveniently ignored because you can't find a one-stop solution book for this. So people just kindly ignore it. And this year, that is what the question was. The Maukhares, the Maitrakas or Vallabi question which was there, that was basically that. It was from Harshavardhana's beginning. Like, that's a question from the 7th century. And also in this 20 questions that we had in history, I reckon about 6 questions were actually straight questions. Fact, straight, point to point. There's nothing for you to analyze. Either you know or you don't know. And those type of questions are actually risky.
Yes, somebody has asked about schemes. Did you notice there was not a single question on IR this year? Not a single question on IR. Not a single question on a scheme.
See, that's probably because what they've done, since IR was in news a lot, so everybody went the IR way. Like you take out any current affairs magazine or any newspaper, IR. UPSC knows you're preparing. You're reading IR. This is what happened last year. Everybody read about pandemic, endemic, COVID's features, COVID variant, everything.
This year there was a question on vaccines and all. So, you basically have to realize that UPSC wants you all to be holistic in your preparation. That's important.
See, listen, this paper actually is not that difficult. If you go the typical conceptual way of preparation, it's not a difficult paper. You can conveniently answer 50% of the paper without any issues. After negative marking, you can conveniently get 100 marks in this. It's not a difficult paper.
Basically, you have to apply mind, which is very, very important. What the biggest problem that you guys face is, you try to answer it at the face of it, which should be avoided.
Vanshika, as you are asking current affairs. Guys, please understand, current affairs is no longer a separate subject.
Their update should basically.
It is, you should stop dealing current affairs as a separate subject. This year, in the evening special class, I'm going to tell you exactly from which part newspapers or where, which year they've asked these questions. You will realize how many questions were actually from current affairs. In fact, in history, static questions. UNESCO one, etc. That's what they did. They continuously kept on asking that way. They continuously did this. Every question, pretty much. Abhi, yes, it is possible. You start preparation today. If you work, you still have time. I always tell these guys, if you spend 6 hours a day in good dinner.
I would like to add something.
Yes, ma'am.
Abhi, I'll tell you one thing. If you notice the people who crack this exam, majority of them are working. Reason? The reason is people who prepare full time, they procrastinate a lot. It's like, bahut time hai, kal karenge, parso karenge, and that kal parso will never come in their life. So basically, people who are working on a serious note have limited time and they use that time optimally. Optimum utilization of time happens. Okay, that is the reason why people who are working are the ones who actually crack. Most of the times, the result, you have more people cracking the exam. So, what you require here is simple common sense. You have to understand that in any subject, basics are very important. Having a conceptual clarity will give you 25% of this paper, irrespective of the subject. I'm sure of that. So first focus should be conceptual clarity. It's not mugging up. It is understanding and differentiating, because you come across different concepts. You need to know what is the difference between each of these concepts. Conceptual clarity is one. Second, a lot of people have been asking about notes making. See, notes making should not be elaborate. You're not writing a book. It should be very, very concise. We say that you need to have notes of your own because it is easy to revise. Imagine, for polity, every time I revise, I have to read NCRT, I have to read Lakshmikant, I have to read Kashyap, Basu. How much time will I take for revision? If I have one crisp, concise notes, I can quickly revise. And the third thing that you have to do, essentially, at least for our two subjects, I'm sure Rangnath would agree, please go through PYQs. We insist that you go through PYQs. Before you start with any test series, understanding PYQs is very, very essential. So, if you keep these things in mind, cracking the exam is not all that difficult.
See, on this Unacademy platform only, in special classes, I did the entire history previous year questions from 1978 to 2020. Those were completely free classes which were done. PYQs may not repeat as it is, but the topic and the pattern is where
Slight changes.
becomes important.
Polity, they have constitution, government, it is third or fourth time.
Yes, ma'am. See, I'll give an example about time. Like everybody is asking me time. Let me give a small example. You spend 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. Take Sunday holiday, 36 hours a week. Into 52 weeks in a year, 1850 hours. That actually gives, you need only 600 hours to prepare for this exam. So you have 3 times the time. So you do 2 revisions, 1 full test series, you will still save time. See, the problem people do is, you have to work here like a banker. You have to be very choosy, very planned, and you have to be consistent. It's a marathon. And UPSC is clear on this. The special classes mine always in history part, I always do in the mornings or in the evenings. Only in the mornings or evenings. Keep checking on Unacademy portal. You do understand these special classes. And again, the new series for 2022 will start. We will be doing the entire 2022 previous year questions completely again, fully, with explanation, topic, revision, everything. Sources are extremely important. Not because the same source will be repeated, but you will understand what is the pattern they are checking, what is the method they are using in this preparation.
They are asking about special classes. Please tell that special classes link will be shared in the description. Please wait. You can enroll once it is shared.
Yes, once it is enrolled. Today you will get the link. Newton Gowda and everybody, guys, if you're thinking it's asking questions on sport is silly, 2016 there was a question saying the movie Man Who Knew Infinity is a movie about. Straight. The question was like this.
See, you cannot define the parameter of UPSC. Please understand this. You cannot define the parameter of UPSC. And don't bother about 1-2 questions that are hatke. The majority questions is what is important. Your ranking is not based on what you get in prelims.
Conceptual. Okay. See, conceptual means if I say Gandhi, the concept of Gandhi would include Gandhi's background, Gandhi's development, why Gandhi should be called a non-violent leader, or what is the changes Gandhi did in Quit India movement. This entire mind map should come to your mind. So the problem is you read Gandhi from one book, like say for example Bipin Chandra sir's book or the NCRT Bipin Chandra, and then you get one idea. UPSC wants you to not restrict there. So the Songs in Prison was a book about his book. Factual is straight fact. Either you know, you don't know. That's it. There's nothing much there. Dynamic is, there are many topics which are very dynamic. Fortunately, in history, we don't really get too much of dynamic questions. For dynamic, the parameter in history will be your current affairs. See, if something is going a lot in current affairs, you should know. Like temples, consistently temples were going. The logic was pretty simple, that Yogini temple which they asked, parliament rebuilding. Newspaper mein there was an article about Central Vista. In that article they mentioned this temple. They picked it up, created a question, made a question for this. The temple was mentioned. So people, when you're reading a newspaper, for example, the idea is not for you to go around newspaper word by word. Identify the keywords. Then be prepared on them. Make the concept, make the theory of it. Then you will exactly know about it. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Special classes are free. Lakshmi, you've been asking. Unacademy does not charge for special class. It is done for the benefit of all students. The links of the special class for today's detailed explanation will be shared shortly. Okay, so you can join. It will be in the description box. Don't worry, I think they have already shared it, so you can just click on it and you can join the special classes as and when they are scheduled today. Alright, so don't worry about the special classes.
So taking more of the questions. The floor is open, guys. You can ask many questions if you want. Yes, even with editorial, it's the same story. I think they've put the special class link. So please click on the link, guys. Click and join there. And in the chat, they put the special classes link. Current affairs. Ideally 10 months, but connected to your statics or topics, not as a subject.
Current affairs, you are not just going to, I told you all earlier, you're not just going to read about current happenings. It is more about the backgrounders related. For example, something has completed 50 years, something has completed 75 years. That is also current because it has achieved a milestone. As a backgrounder, you have to know about that event, person, book. It could be anything. So, it is more about how you are reading current affairs. It's not just about reading current affairs. You have to understand how things are related to current issues. Backgrounders must be focused. They are very, very essential.
The backgrounders, yes, as ma'am said, backgrounders, they do play a very, very important role. See, magazine is not relevant of current affairs. Current affairs can be sourced from anywhere because current affairs will remain the same. Regardless of I make it, ma'am makes it, somebody else makes it, it's all going to be the same. The topic is going to be the same. If it is, say, LIC's period of 60 years of operations, it's going to be like that. See, they may even end up asking, say, banks and insurance sector question in mains this year. I have a very strong feeling.
We have this bank mergers and acquisitions. Don't be surprised if you get a bank merger question next year or the year after. Because it has been in news. It's such a big development in Indian economy. So current affairs does not mean that I'm asking you to read from 2020 for 2023. I don't intend to say that. What I'm trying to say is something that has been constantly in news, that has been majorly focused. There will be 10 or 15 issues like that in a year. It's better you know about them for the last 2-3 years to avoid any such problem, because this year there were several questions that were in news 1 year back or 2 years back.
Yeah, see guys, almost everybody is asking me, sir, how to deal with art and culture, ancient, medieval, modern history. Meet me in the evening special class. I'll give you a detail along with sources. I'll tell you how to approach these topics, how to approach these subjects. See, we have to create a watertight container. I mean, I generally call it the watertight container preparation. So if you have to create a watertight container system where obviously of the 20 questions like which came today, 10 will be like really wild questions. But at least 10 will be those questions which you can comfortably answer. And remember, in this exam, your idea is not to answer the all 200. I mean, not to get it, the idea is not to get that 200. This is supposed to be a safe attempt. This is an exam where you do safe attempt. Because prelims kind of doesn't matter to your mains, to final score anyway. It only gets you into the mains part. So that's you have to be on the safe side. This has to be a game of safety, not the game of toppers and not the game of superstars here. I mean, the idea is not to answer everything and everything right. That's never going to happen. Safe attempt. For that safe attempt, how to play that safe? Meet me in the evening class. I'll talk to you in detail. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll check with the economy and I'll get back to you.
Probably, the next would be geography. We are doing one after the other. In another couple of minutes, we will start with the next area. But before that, is there any questions that you would like to ask us? Please feel free. Chetan, keywords, frankly speaking, you will not have many keywords in news every day on a daily basis. Coming to polity, there will be certain legal terms that will be used. Whenever you come across something like curative petition, as I said, then there is something called amicus curiae. Okay, what does it mean? Just a minute, when you come across a term which you're not aware related to the subject, try to check what is the meaning of it. So there is no definite, I cannot define and say that these many terms will come from this subject in current affairs. The idea here is I am reading a newspaper article on polity or history or geography or economy. Suddenly I come across a term which I am not aware of. As a student, I am expected to know the meaning of the term. This is what we mean by the basic terms. We are going to start with geography analysis shortly. Mayank all of you, I would like to tell you all one thing. Please remember, we don't want you to score the maximum in prelims. The whole idea is you have to only clear the prelims. Okay, you reach the cutoff, you go beyond the cutoff, you clear it. It's just a qualifying exam. You have to qualify prelims. So if you start worrying about all those unconventional questions that came in the paper, you will unnecessarily lose your confidence. It is not about doing everything perfectly. It is about doing what is required to crack the exam. So please don't worry about how if the paper is going to be like this, what should I do and all that. Nobody knows how the paper next time is going to be, because UPSC is not sticking to a set pattern. So let's not worry about how the paper is going to be, what is going to happen and all that. My only suggestion is, please do what is essentially required. It is, they want a student, an aspirant who is aware. Okay, so when I read newspaper, as I said, I try to understand the terms that come in the newspaper. I try to read it diligently. I try to have a basic conceptual clarity, do the basic NCRT. So these are some things that are expected out of you, which are not very difficult, which are not out of the world that you can't do. And the paper is always balanced. UPSC always balances the paper. Out of the 18 questions that have been asked on polity, there have been at least 6 or 7 questions that have been direct. So what are we worried about? At least 25 to 30% paper will be direct and simple. It is about the remaining 20-25%. Cutoff usually does not go beyond 50-55%. As a rule, it does not go beyond 50-55%. So let's not look at the negativity. There is a lot of positivity also in the paper. Let's look at that. You should always build your strengths and reduce your weaknesses, mitigate your weaknesses. You focus more on the negative part of the paper, then unnecessarily you'll get dejected and demotivated.
So yeah, I was economy, guys. We just give us 10 minutes. Safe side, because see, we are more worried about the quality than the timing part, because economy questions, it seems, have been quite tricky. So they have to make sure we're giving the exactly right answer. It's better to give you the right than to just rush around. Okay. So give us.
Geography is going to start in a span of 10, maximum 10 minutes.
Yes. Geography, economy, science and technology. It seems science and technology questions were also quite tricky this time. That's what we've seen. I myself, I see a very much similarity between today's paper and 2016 paper and 2014 paper. 14, 16 and 21. These three have been almost similar, quite wild papers. They were unconventional, which was both a sense of realization for both of us. For you as an aspirant, for us as a faculty, it's all the same.
Basically, what we realize is, again, I emphasize that concepts. Please don't forget, clarity is what is important.
You should know, and no mug up business. Mugging up is gone, guys. Those days are gone. UPSC is clear on this. Mug up is gone. And if somebody suggests you this is the standard book, then please make sure your preparation doesn't end there. You may start there, but don't end there, because that's no longer going to be the same. Geography will start in just about 5 to 10 minutes, guys. We're just cross-checking the key and making sure things are going right. Yeah, I don't want you to miss out in the evening. We will give you explanations as well, and along with explanations. They'll have a question with detailed explanation, exactly, content part. That's more important to understand, because that explanation part will actually help you, of those who attempted, to actually know what could be your score. And that way, once we have a proper explanation, we'll be able to drop down and come down to exactly what could be your probable score and where you will sit. And once in about 2-3 days we will know, guys. It will take about 2-3 days for us overall to know where aspirants across the country stand, and what's our final score, where probably the cutoff may stand. At this point, I still think it's going to be somewhere around last year's 92 cutoff.
Good.
Yeah, that's a question everybody's asking, ma'am.
Students, I want you to remember that it is Indian polity, it is not Lakshmikant. The subject name is Indian polity. Let's remember that it is Indian polity. Lakshmikant is a book that caters to Indian polity. It is a good book because it actually summarizes the whole subject. But again, I would say that along with Lakshmikant, reading a proper textbook will help you in your mains, because you should know the flow of language, how to present the subject. That's very important. I usually suggest, along with Lakshmikant, I usually suggest Subhash Kashyap's Our Constitution, which is very small, which is easy to digest, easy to understand. And Subhash Kashyap was a former Secretary General of Lok Sabha. The book is published by Department of Publications, Government of India. It is a proper textbook. I usually don't suggest a DD Basu because Basu has a lot of legal language, and a first timer to polity will develop a fear for the subject if he reads Basu without any proper understanding of the subject. For a student with a law background, Basu would not be a problem, but for a student who is from a non-law background, I would still recommend Subhash Kashyap. So Subhash Kashyap is a standard textbook. Lakshmikant is good, no doubt about it, but the connectivity, the conceptual clarity I'm talking about, you get it better when you read Subhash Kashyap.
Yeah, conceptual clarity. I was just checking. Have you seen that Mitakshara question? It was actually Hindu undivided family law. They use the question. They say ancient, with reference to history of ancient India. Which of the following statements these are true?
This actually was in discussion in the judgment given by Supreme Court on right to property.
Yes, ma'am.
There was a judgment on right to property given by the Supreme Court where Mitakshara, the law schools of India, were discussed, and there was a specific discussion which was covered in the newspaper.
Yeah, this is editorial. It came from the editorial. In fact, they took these statements from editorial. They took this, and see, there's one publication book for modern India which students, the so-called I call them, I generally call this an aspirant syndrome or aspirant behavior. They have this so-called referred book for modern India. 7 questions from modern India, you can hardly answer only 2 from that book. Only 2, because these are not even mentioned in that book. The Montego Chelmsford, voting rights for women, they don't give that much depth in those. These are stuff you have to study. Concept, start from that book, but you have to check the details of these acts. What these acts provisions are, what they did, how they proceeded. Those details are what you had to study. And that is what we, people like faculties, can help you with. That's where we kind of fit in between the books and you.
Akshat, not just you are going to appear in 2024, not just you. I will say no student should worry about the paper, because it is more about giving your best. It is not about worrying. Worrying will not help you in any way. Do you really think worrying can help you in any way? It's only going to damage your preparation. It's going to only damage your entire time. So please don't get into a worry. A smart person should actually think for a way out. Analyze the paper. We have been constantly telling what to focus on. So please analyze the paper. Focus on what we've been asking you to do. Don't worry about the prelims. First start studying. You prepare, To worry also you need to be qualified. And the qualification is you have to prepare. First prepare. Be on the right track. Keep cross-checking yourself by solving PYQs as you keep preparing on a subject. And then you can, you'll get the confidence to solve the paper. So please don't worry unnecessarily.
Yeah, see, you are asking, sir, again, which please other book for modern India? You start with any book. Like, for example, that book, that question is there, right? Montego Chelmsford Reforms and Women Writing, and also Women Reservation in 1935. That's actually from a topic called Women Suffrage in India.
Basically, we cover it in society.
Women Suffrage in India.
Women's movement. There is a topic in General Studies Mains Paper 1 called Women's Movements in India. I don't know if you've read Indian Society syllabus in Paper 1 of Mains. In that, there is a women's movement. We cover it in class. We talk about women's suffrage. There was a small delegation that meets, that was headed by Annie Besant and Sarojini Naidu, that meets the Governor General then, and that is how 1919 Act gave provinces the freedom to give right to vote to women. Madras was the first province. Muthu Lakshmi Reddy was the first elected representative. Muthu Lakshmi Reddy, Google was there. Okay, so this is how questions are picked up. Oh, it's a part of your syllabus. So what I would suggest is, don't say this is prelims, don't say that this is mains. It is a holistic preparation. Try to complete as much as possible before your prelims exam, because that will really help you in your prelims as well. What do you say,
Yes,
Ranga?
ma'am. In Hindu last year, November 2020, in Hindu, there was an article about Sophia Dulib Singh. Sophia Dulib Singh was the daughter of Ranjit Singh, who actually worked for women's suffrage in London. So 1918, when London they were given suffrage, we were not given in 1919 Government of India Act. 1935 में women were given right to vote but with heavy restrictions. This is what I said concept. See, and also in my view, at least from the history part, it looks like reading again and again tradition seems to be gone now. UPSC wants to spread your hands. I mean, it wants you to go more. It's not just about restricting your. We used to say this, restrict yourself to 1 or 2 books and read more number of times and get more and more advice on it. But now it seems to be moving more wide and more expanded, more variety of topics actually. So I'm just
Last 2 minutes, any questions, please let me know. But before we wind off and hand it over to the geography faculty, both would suggest please don't worry. We are not here to worry you out. We are here to tell you that we are there for you. We will guide you and you have to study on your end. So let's not worry about how the paper is going to be next year. That's later. The first important thing is how did you prepare? So it's more important that you are more prepared about it.
Yeah.
I think the geography part is ready. We will have Sachin Arora sir doing the geography analysis for you. He'll be joining shortly. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Please do continue because after geography we are going to have economy, science and technology and we're going to complete the entire set. And also please remember the special class links have already been shared. Please join us for the special class for a very detailed discussion. There will be more interaction in the special classes. See you in the special classes. Thank you.
Thank you guys. I'll see you in the special class.
Hi all. Hi everybody. Good afternoon. So I am sure you are doing well and you're looking forward to all the answers. And here I am bringing one of the favorite topics of the examiner, geography. And apart from that, soon I will be talking to you about environment also. So I'm sure you are having a good time. I would just take my slides, the remote. Yes. So I'm sure you've been waiting for all this. So I will be talking about in general about the trend once I have started talking about the discussion. I'm sure from the link below you've got the question paper. Okay. So let us talk about this question which we have coming in. How is permaculture farming different from conventional chemical farming? Now I'm very, very sure that all the students who are looking at this, the question itself somehow distinguishes the two things. Suppose you do not know much about permaculture. So when they are pitted against each other, so one is permaculture versus conventional chemical. So, it's like day versus night. So you can start making some guesses. And when we look at the options, those guesses also start working for us. So permaculture farming discourages monoculture practice. Oh yes, chemical is more about monoculture. Looks good to me. Yes. And second is conventional chemical farming can cause increase in soil salinity. Yes, it has caused a lot of increase in soil salinity. So that's also there. Yes. And then conventional farming is easily possible in semi-arid. Now this is some challenge that we have. Okay. So fourth one is practice of mulching is very, very important. So it's like, a question related to whether we are going for organic farming, sustainable farming versus chemical farming. Do we get that? I am very, very sure that we also, when we are looking at this question, we also heard something about, Sri Lanka going organic. And as a result, Sri Lanka had issues with their food security and all that. So somewhere we are looking at questions this year also connected to the current occurrences also. So here we have gone for option number B, where number 3 has been one thing which we have questioned. Is everyone okay with this one? Okay. Now, conventional chemical farming is easily possible in semi-arid areas, but permaculture farming is not so easily. So when we are talking about not so easily, I think when we are talking about permaculture is something about agroclimatic suitability. So I'm very, very sure that dry crops can go with permaculture. So that is why the team goes for this. Is everyone okay with this? Okay. So let's go to the next one. Okay, 52. With reference to palm oil, consider the following statements. So when we are talking about palm oil, consider the following statements. Palm oil was in news because of the COVID. We saw a lot of restrictions and people not being able to import palm oil, and as a result we also saw some issues with the price rise in a lot of oil related edible oil and cosmetic related industry. So this question also, I am very, very clear, I also see some contemporary relevance to this question, and geography and environment traditionally are related to what is happening around you. So that is what I feel, that this answer, when we went for this answer, palm oil is a raw material for lipstick, not only lipstick, important cosmetic items. So this is absolutely correct. Palm oil can be used to produce biodiesel. Yes, it can be biodiesel. In fact, southern Indian states are getting into this palm oil cultivation, and I'm very sure, one of the last month itself, one of the cover page of Sunday newspaper on Hindu was about this expansion and the question on sustainability of that. So 2 and 3 are absolutely correct when it comes to the first one. So I want to tell you, native is somewhere it has grown. So native is somewhere where the crop has actually grown. So I feel that instead of this, the native is Africa. This was brought by the colonizers to this region. So that is why one has been ruled out. We've gone for number B. Is everyone clear with this? Okay. Going to the next question. With reference to India, Didwana, Kuchaman, Sargol, Khatu are the names of. Now, as I said, like people preparing for geography and environment must be very clear about that pictorial memory. Pictorial memory is important, and we are looking at pictorial memory. We are looking at something into which area have we heard these names. So, Digana, Didwana, Nimrana, Kuchaman, these are somewhere we hear in Rajasthan. These are names of lakes. These are famous lakes, and these are the names of those lakes. Is everyone clear with that? So these are the names. So the only confusion that would come there is glaciers, no, when we are eliminating them. So no, they are not glaciers. I get that. Let me change the color. So glaciers is ruled out. Mangrove areas ruled out, and we are on the Ramsar sites. Now this is one which would have confused a few people, and then saline lakes. Saline lakes is absolutely true, and not all of them are Ramsar sites. So when we are talking about the Ramsar sites, we need to be clear about this fact that Ramsar sites are a very, very popular entry, and we have seen in the last 2 years how Ramsar sites have done, like India has added to those Ramsar sites. So we need to know about them. So I am very, very sure in the popular names, these are not coming as Ramsar sites. So I would go for saline lakes. The location will tell me, the location will help me find out which area is this. Is everyone clear with this? Next is consider the following rivers. There's something when we are talking about our rivers, a little bit of peninsular India, if we draw that, almost in Odisha, we find these Brahmani and Subarnarekha ending over there. Yes, rivers, Mahanadi Delta around that region. So when we are talking about their origin is, and when we are talking about Eastern Ghats, definitely it is going towards Odisha also, but this is not where these two rivers originate. So the question is, which of the above rise from Eastern Ghats? So 1 and 3 are not there. So by elimination itself, you can come to this answer of 2. Is everyone clear with that? So what I am trying to say here is, if you know something about the rivers, if you know something about the rivers, the job is done on that. Do we get that? Somebody is asking, where can we find the terminologies like permaculture and all? See, that depends upon, like what you are reading for the preparation of the examination. So when we are talking about permaculture, so this is something basic agriculture has started to be asked in the question. Get that? Basic agriculture. So I would strongly recommend that when we are reading the environment chapters, and especially from the Unacademy material also, you will find such terms coming in. Get that? When you're reading chapters on soil, these terms will also be coming in. Do we get that? There is a famous UGC book which came published on environmental studies by Iraq Barucha. Yes, that book also talks about it. This is the common language for anyone who's preparing for geography nowadays, with agriculture coming in. And I also want to add one more thing, since somebody has asked this question. Yes, somebody, NCERT won't work for this. That is why I said, like a standard book which was prescribed as UGC curriculum. Yes, so there was a UGC committee. Dr. Iraq Barucha was the head of that. So that is a book, and a very elementary level book. Get that? So definitely, Shambhavi, it is not NCERT alone that can be working on that. Okay. One more thing, since we are talking about this, all students who are serious about clearing this examination, remember this thing, Indian Forest Service changes the game. For geography and environment, please remember, Indian Forest Service changes the game. And how does it change the game? It changes the game by giving some depth into questions based on agriculture, forests, agriculture, forest, and a little bit of science where it comes to the science of agriculture, a little bit of these culture things, yes, and also the science of genetic engineering when it comes to forestry and plant breed and species. So that's where we are looking at some overlap coming between environment, geography, and the role of forest services. So that has to be kept in mind. Get that? Definitely 11th and 12th NCERT, you have to go beyond that. Shambhavi says Khuller, well, you can go for Khuller, but if geography is not your optional, I think you don't need much of that. Do we get that? Chali, let us go to the next question. We would be coming up with detailed session on all this. So there I would like to take these questions, not here. The Global Oceanic Commission grants license for seabed exploration and mining in international waters. Now, everyone who has attended any GS class about oceans, the first and the most common question that comes is, who owns the oceans? So, who owns the ocean? Who owns the oceans? And this is the context. This question becomes the context of something called as UNCLOS. There is an international law. There is an international law which tells us who owns the oceans. So they have demarcated the territories, that how much part of the ocean is under the sovereign control of a coastal or a littoral state. Yes. And in that, UNCLOS has a beautiful addition on that. What about seabed? Ocean bed. So anyone who is reading something about hydrosphere, some basics about hydrosphere, who owns the oceans? UNCLOS comes to your mind, United Nations Convention on Laws of Seas. So who is controlling them? That is the UN law. And there is an agency which was given the charge of looking into seabed, and that is called ISA, International Seabed Authority. International Seabed Authority is the agency that regulates, protects, and does everything with the seabed. This is some deviation which the examiner has brought in. Because everything is okay. If I put ISA over here, the International Seabed Authority grants licenses for seabed exploration and mining in the international waters, this statement would have been correct. And I'm like some of you might be wondering, yes, some of you might be wondering that, how many agencies do I remember? How many laws do I remember? No, I seriously want to tell you that anyone who is studying hydrosphere and oceans for the first time, two things: for the surface, UNCLOS; for the deep sea, ISA. Get that? Their headquarters is in Jamaica. People who don't know Jamaica, Usain Bolt comes from there. So that is what we are looking at. Is everyone clear on this? So this was the first statement goes wrong. Moment the first statement goes wrong, life becomes easy. Now, what is needed here is confidence. What is needed here is clarity. Again saying, like somebody just now asked, sir, ye to NCERT mein nahi, what sources? Now, this is where, like we are looking at the examination. The examination, when you hear of NCERTs are supposed to give you the vocabulary of the subject. They are not an end all in that. At the same time, if you've not done NCERT, acceleration at higher levels will be limited. So NCERT has to be crossed. I think oceanography, when we teach in our material also, a very, very fair chapter on UNCLOS is given, an International Seabed Authority. So we need to have that. Do we get that? Somebody says focus on environment and ecology, simple. I don't know. We will have environment and ecology questions also coming in, and this year the questions have been, like I would say, I would rate them compared to the previous years much easier, much easier. Do we get that? So I think we got this. India has received licenses for seabed mineral exploration. Yes, we were in fact the first country to get licenses for mining polymetallic nodules in the Indian Ocean. Get that? And recently there is something called as there is a special region. There is a special region in the Pacific Ocean where 12 countries were awarded licenses to extract polymetallic nodules by ISA, and India was one of them. So second statement is correct. Rare earth metals are present. You might have a doubt on that, but if you look at the options, well, you have to select more than one. So this is very clearly the answer that we have for you. The team is clear on this, that this should be the answer. Okay. This we have done, the reverse we have done. Okay. So this also comes from the ocean. Generally, we have seen, if you ask me from geography, I believe that more questions were coming from atmosphere. More questions were coming from atmosphere. But this time, I see questions from hydrosphere and also an interface on them. So this question is a fusion question of atmosphere as well as hydrosphere. So what is in this? Let us look at this. So the tropical zones, let me make something for you. Let me make something for you. Maybe that reminds you, and especially my students who have attended my classes, you would remember this. And people who don't know how to draw a world map, for you also life is easy. These are two hypothetical continents. Yes, this is equator and this is 30 degrees and this is 60 degrees. This is 30 degrees and this is 60 degrees. So what we are looking at is 30 degrees, the trade winds are flowing, 60 degrees, the westerlies are flowing. So this question is about the oceans, not land, and it is saying in the tropical zone. Remember tropical, this is the tropical zone. In the tropical zone, the western section of oceans are warmer than the eastern section. So this part is warm. Okay. And in the temperate zone, which is 30 to 60, the westerlies make the eastern section of the oceans warmer. So this is warm. That's a fact. That's a fact that eastern side of the oceans are warmer here. So in the tropical latitudes, the western ocean, and when I say western, please get this. This is not for Indian Ocean. This is not for Pacific Ocean. This is not for Atlantic Ocean. This is for all oceans. What is happening is the trade winds are pushing the warm water to the west. The warm water gets piled up over here. Get that? I'm sure people who are preparing for this examination, you've heard of the El Nino phenomena also. So you saw and you've seen that on the western side, the warm water is piled up near Australia and Indonesia. And when that pile is lost, that is the situation called El Nino. So this is definitely the winds have a role to play. I also want to tell you that these winds also cause upwelling in these areas where we have the cold water coming in. So definitely the first statement is absolutely correct. Going by the same logic, if your concepts are clear, you can very well see that in the temperate zone, because the winds have changed, this warm water takes a turn and it should have gone towards the pole. But you know that when it comes into this belt, this warm water is forced to turn to the right and this warm water is coming over here. a famous question which has been often asked is, why Murmansk, a Russian port, is free of ice for 12 months? And all of you have heard that it is the warmth brought by the Gulf Stream and the North Atlantic Drift which makes European winters milder as well as more rainfall over there. Same logic but applied over here. So I would rather go for both of them. Both of them using the same logic, both of them would be my entry. Is everyone clear on this? Okay, so let's move further. In the context of India's preparation for climate smart agriculture, consider the following statement. So a country like India with a huge population and the kind of food security that we are looking at, we really need to focus on our agriculture. And it is the tropical belt which is taking the worst of the climate change. No matter what is happening, the tropical belt is going to take one of the worst hits. And if you look at India, its vulnerability, or probably there is an international climate vulnerability index, and India is amongst the top 10. So India needs to somewhere secure its agriculture, and that is the context of this question. I am sure a NCERT student is not being told about this, yes or no? I am sure you need to rise above this. Can I say this is an overlap of whatever is happening contemporarily with the situation in India. Climate smart village approach in India is a part of the project led by Climate Change, Agriculture and Food Security and International Research Program. Well, that's a true statement. The project of CCAFS is carried under the consultative group of International Agriculture Research headquartered in France. So if you ask me, the topic which we teach, and this is definitely an overlap, as I said, between forestry, yes, environment and geography. So somewhere we are looking at that. So let me start somewhere here. That CCAFS, when we are talking about, is under the consultative group of International Agriculture Research. This is the first thing. So anyone who's reading about agriculture today, we need to know about the initiatives on agriculture also. I would say that 5 years ago, I was talking about you should know about international initiatives on forestry in the world. But today I would strongly recommend that even agriculture initiatives in the world must be known. Very clear. In the last 3 years, they have really taken this question to the other part also. Is everyone clear on this? So this is the consultative group which is talking about international agriculture research. Yes. Under this we have climate change, agriculture and food security. This is a research program under this. Second part. Okay. Under this program, India has adopted a climate smart village approach. So that is what we are talking about. And is any of the Indian agencies, research agencies a part of it? Because India is part of this initiative. So is anyone involved? Yes. A very important institute called ICRISAT, International Crop Research Institute for Semi-Arid Tropics in India, is one of the research centers. Now, if you ask me to rate this question, I would say not easy. I would definitely say not easy. Yes or no? Are we clear on this? So this is going to be all three, and see, I am very clear that this examination is about playing to your strength. If you have done traditional agriculture, but if you have not done agriculture with the current affairs perspective, you might be stuck on this. So all students who are planning to appear for the next year also, do not make it a status issue कि ये करना ही करना है. यहाँ पे I know there were doubts. Yes. Next. So this is answer number is D. All three are correct. The vegetation of savanna consists of grasslands with scattered small trees. Now the question is coming from biomes. The question comes from biomes. In fact, 2 questions have come from biomes. So people who are talking about NCERT, I would say a book, important book, G.C. Leong comes into picture. So G.C. Leong comes into picture, and I would very clearly say that biomes chapters have been done profoundly by that book. Biomes chapter has been done profoundly by that book. Another, as I told you, like that UGC curriculum which they prepared under Barucha. So that also is very, very comprehensive on this. Now, everyone pay attention to this. So savanna or a grassland. You've heard of something called as park landscape. Park landscape. So what is park landscape? Just like your community parks, you have grass, yes, and a few trees here and there. That is what savanna is about. So savanna is a transition, between forest on the wetter side and desert on the drier side. So desert is arid and forest is humid. So we are in a semi-arid area. In semi-arid areas, the rainfall becomes a determining factor which does not allow the trees to grow or flourish. So rainfall is a limiting factor. Now the fact is the rainfall somewhere in savanna would be around 70-80 centimeters. 70-80 centimeters. So can there be trees? Well, only small short trees would be there. So generally a savanna would look like probably a few trees here and there, and rest is all grassland. Now the question is a very interesting question they have asked, that but extensive areas have no trees. So why the trees are not there? The forest development in such areas is generally checked by something. So who's stopping the forest to grow? Who's stopping the forest to grow? So in such areas is generally kept in check by one or more or a combination of some conditions. So now this is something which I would say is a very, very popular one, and we need to understand that what stopped it. So one thing which very, very normally comes if you read G.C. Leong, even NCERTs, that savannas, their natural nutrient cycling is based on annual fires. So savannas will catch fire. When savannas catch fire, the grasses catch fire, will the tree burn? Big chance that the tree would burn, but generally these are the species are such that they are fire resistant. So they would survive, but they cannot grow gregariously. So that density of the forest cannot be there. So it's a check on the density of forest, but yes, some trees can survive. So fire is definitely an answer. And I am sure you have heard that savanna is the cradle of human civilization. Human civilization came from savannas. Yes or no? So in fact, it is said the first fire which we learnt, that was in savannas. It is also said that humans got the taste of cooked meat because of savannas. So the fire is very, very significant thing over there. Ecological role of nutrient cycling, and another ecological role which the question highlights, that it does not allow, it's a natural control against the forest becoming dense. So fire is there, definitely there. Now I told you why the trees are not there. Why the trees are not there? Because trees are on the humid side. Trees and cactus are on the arid side. So trees require certain amount of water, and especially on the tropical belt. Savanna is a tropical belt, 0 to 30. It's warm. Remember, which season do you drink more water? Summers or winters? It's summers, no. So warm area, your water demand is high. So can I say water will also decide the limit of that. So 2 are there, 2 and 4 are there. So I see 2 and 4. Burrowing animal stopping the trees. I have a serious doubt on this. Soil properties, well, soils, as I said, no, it is more of a function of the moisture and the fire over there. Get that? So that's there. So I was left with taking herbivores. So grazing herbivores, what can they do? Probably the seeds and everything that can be there. So I would go for, or the team has chosen to go for 2, 3 and 4. Is everyone clear on this? So we're going for C. With reference to water on planet Earth. So all the people who were wondering, will NCERT help or not? I'm sure you have all seen the pie chart. The pie chart which is there on NCERT about water. That only 3% is fresh water? NCERT says water is a resource, is a scarce resource in plenty. So only 3% is fresh water, 97% is what? 97% is salt water. Most of us know that. Most of us know that. UPSC went a step further. They asked us a breakup of this 3%. A breakup of this 3%. So that is what makes this question a little, this thing, like requiring you to read your NCERTs well. So if you have not read your NCERT well, definitely there is going to be a question. Now this 3% also, I would say around 68%, 68.7% or 20 or 2/3 are in ice cap. I don't need any other information. This we must be knowing, and if we know this, the answer is there. Let us read that. Amount of water in the rivers and lakes is more than the amount of groundwater. Okay, so I need one more information. So my another information is around 30%, 30.1% is groundwater. So the two big chunks when we are talking about water, fresh water, which we all need to consume to survive, there is hardly any water. There is hardly any water which is easily available to us. So ice caps take a huge amount, 2/3, and almost 1/3, slightly less than 1/3 goes to groundwater. And then comes rivers. So here, this was a clear question coming from NCERT only, and within that we have very, very clearly seen that this is not a difficult question at all. And as I said, these sitters, people will make mistake in this also. Now, if a question on that, remember that ICRI SAT which I was talking about, agriculture, which many of you don't know, those questions will not fail you. Because most people have doubts on that, and if we have to play safe, if we are willing to probably skip 10 or 15 questions in out of 100, I think that one qualifies. That one qualifies. Chhod do usko. That I plan to leave that. I do get that. Not this one. Because the moment you lose this one, others are one step ahead of you. And after all, it's a competition. After all, it's a competition. So this is something which was very, very basic. Pure NCERT material, pure NCERT material. In fact, I would say anything you read, any book you read, any reference book, any material book, say for example, Unacademy material, ye aayega aayega. This is like the very, very basic things of, like the distribution of water and this thing. And can we see, planet Earth water has been an important theme. 3 questions have come. 3 questions have come about the oceans. Yes. And this also should be seen as part of that only. So, groundwater is more than rivers, and ice caps are more than that. Amount of water in polar ice cap is more than the amount of glaciers. So this is there. Looking at this, I am okay with the second statement. My answer is B, bravo. Is everyone okay with that? So answer is B, bravo for this question. Okay, let's go to the next question. Black cotton soil have been formed due to weathering off. Now, so can we rate this as a difficult question? Isn't it a sitter? Isn't it a sitter? Which source? This area. This area has got black soil. Anyone who's read any part of physical geography, I would say class 11th part 2. Class 11th part 2 tells us that this is the area which is called the Deccan lava trap. Deccan lava trap. It says this is a place where fluid basaltic lava had erupted. So basaltic lava, just to give you an idea that if you heard of eruptions, if you've heard of volcanoes, the idea that comes to our mind is that volcano is something that erupts and a huge mountain and clouds. But there are violent volcanic eruptions and there are silent ones also. And silent ones are the ones which are a free flowing magma. Magma which is basic, which has low silica content. Low silica content which has more metallic content, and basalt is one of them. So Indian plate, when it was moving from the Gondwana land and coming towards Angara land, yes, if you read a little bit of that, we passed over a hot spot called Reunion Hotspot. And that led to the creation. So this is the backdrop of this. Coming to the question, what is it? So definitely it is about weathering. What is weathering? Weathering is some kind of rocks. The question is on rocks and they are talking about soil. Soil is definitely what? By definition, the upper weathered layer of earth supporting or capable of supporting life. Get that? So this is upper weathered layer, but weathering of what? Weathering of soil with soil? Means one soil weathers to give other soil? No, absolutely ruled out. Now we are left with three types of rocks. Now, sir, I am not very well versed with the rocks. Absolutely okay. You know something about probably igneous rock, sedimentary rocks, metamorphic rock. But you don't know about granite, you don't know about schist, you don't know about shale, limestone, you don't know much. And in fact, the catch is, you don't have to know these rocks. You only had to know what is a fissure. Fissure is a gap. Fissure is a gap from which some volcano comes out. Fissure is a linear gap from which fluid magma comes out and it solidifies, and one layer on the other layer, on the other layer, on the other. The key was here. You know, that's what we are looking at. You know, you should develop an eye to find out the right answer rather than getting distracted with what are not right. So I really don't know much about granite and schist. I can believe, means I know about it. You may not know much about it. These people also don't know about it. But this one, fissure, tells me the same thing. So there was a crack in this area. And through those fissures, what has come? Basalt has erupted, and that basalt. So the rock name is called basalt. Just in case you do not know that the rock is called basalt, it's absolutely okay. But the fissure eruption. So basalt is a softer rock, easy to erode, and I would say granite and schist, little bit since you are here, they are more giving us red soils. These are crystalline rocks, so they give us more on red soils. Do we get that? So my answer is B, bravo. I am sure you know all students who applied their logic, ये answer आ गया होगा. ये गलत नहीं करना. This answer should not go wrong. If this answer goes wrong, our entry ticket to mains, it's like your entry ticket to IPL match is lost because of that. So again saying, if I may go back, if I may take the liberty of going back, climate smart agriculture, if you do not know the answer to this question, the world doesn't end. The world doesn't end. If you are confused that where will I get this, the world doesn't end. But if you miss on this one, that's allowing others to go ahead of you. Do we get that? So these were some questions. If I look at the analysis, so rivers were there. We saw lakes coming in, so natural water bodies. I'm sure if you have read the syllabus of UPSC, it says geophysical phenomena and landforms. UPSC syllabus, geophysical phenomena and landforms, where they specifically say water bodies and ice caps. If you read the syllabus, so they have been true to that. They have asked questions on rivers, they have asked questions on lakes, they have asked questions on agriculture, they have asked questions on some, I would say hydrosphere was a favorite. I don't expect 3 questions coming from there. Yes or no? Through invisible over rote learners. So rote learning is something, out of fear we have this tendency that, like students actually prefer this, that the teacher made me mug up in the class itself. I don't know whether you got an opportunity to mug it up. And I'm saying, like a very good question. I would be discussing them in this thing, in the environment. I'll soon be coming with environment. If I'm looking up at this one, what is there to mug it up? And how can you mug it up? This is a concept which has been applied. Look at this vegetation of savanna. Logic. I'm saying, and another one, like since we are talking about it, I'm saying students ask us, sir, do we have to read the books? Isn't this a kind of a book extract? Isn't this a kind of a book extract? So if you're a person who is into reading, and not only reading comprehension, you will do well in civil services GS paper, otherwise you will not be able to even complete the paper. These options are lengthy. I would say geography, for that matter, the options were smaller. But when I looked at the questions on history, when I looked at questions on polity and economics, there were so many, like sentences which would take a lot of time and you require a lot of concentration to even understand them. So do not be averse to reading them, and I would say, your educators are very clear about what not to be read, but at the same time, do not try to skip things which are to be read. Those are to be mandatorily read, and I would say we at least allow us to pass on base books to you. Say for example NCERT and like our material, stick to that, read that, get into the habit of reading and interpreting. So that's what we are looking at in this. So this is the geography section, and if I may look at the trend, some trend analysis was also there. Okay, did I skip this question? Okay, with reference to the Indus river system, following 4 rivers, 3 of them pour into one. I'm sure you have seen this. This is Indus river. If I skip this, so the team says the answer is D delta in this. So this is our river Indus. This is the river Indus. Get that? Somewhere originating, yes, Lake Mansarovar, Tibet. Enters India, exits India. Enters India, exits India. So can I say truly international river? India, Tibet, Pakistan. When we are looking at its systems, so here we have a river called Jhelum. Its tributary Kishan Ganga. Get that? After Jhelum, what do we have? Chenab, Ravi, and here another river, Satluj, comes. So this is Satluj river coming in, and to Satluj we have the river Bias joining. So Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi. Now this Jhelum river, now it's in Pakistan, and Jhelum joins Chenab, Ravi joins Chenab, and finally Chenab joins Indus, Satluj. And after this stretch is called Panchnad river. After their confluence, this stretch is called Panchnad river. The question is saying which, with reference to the following 4 rivers, 3 of them pour into one of them, which joins the Indus direct. Get that? 3 of them pour into one of them. So can I say Jhelum? Jhelum pours into Chenab, so number 1. Get that? Ravi pours into Chenab, number 2. Chenab itself finally pours into Satluj, which joins eventually Indus. So though in Pakistan we call it Panchnad, I would say amongst the following, which one is such river that joins the Indus direct? So this is there, which is going to go direct in this. So we have gone for answer D delta. Is everyone clear? Get that? Palm we talked about, permaculture we've talked about. So palm is something which you should have done, and as I said, elimination was very much possible in this. So this is what we had about our geography discussion. The trend analysis which I could and I should be talking about in general, I said once I am done with the discussion, I will be talking about the trend. So geography seems to have gone up. Geography seems to have gone up this year. Yes. Now I really want to tell you, do not get into the trap. Do not get into the trap. I was here at the starting of this discussion. I think the mean of this year has been very, very good. They have uniformly divided almost across all leading areas, be it history, geography, environment. Geography, environment collectively is more or less constant. It has not increased. So please, I would not unnecessarily say, no, put all your eggs in geography. No, geography and environment continues to be a strong area, which is almost 1/4 of your preparation. It continues to be that. If geography also happens to be your optional, If geography also happens to be your optional, you stand an advantage provided you are not just thinking of making it your optional, you've already read for it. It will make a huge difference. Now, what is this? I would say these are spikes. If you look at the average, this is the average. So I don't expect geography to get more than 8 questions. 8 to 10 is my average. So I am very much in that average. And for environment, I am into 15. 15 to 17 is my average. So this is what comes. So I would say the trend has been more or less there. I don't know about, other educators, because they have been able to assess their subject. When I'm talking about geography, I think it was a very, very good opportunity to score a lot. I do understand that ICRI sat 1. एक दो छोड़ देगा, 1 or 2 you left, no problem. But where it was to be grasped should not be left. So that is one thing which I say, that this has gone good for us. Get that? I am sure if you have any questions, you can ask us on this. Get that? Okay. What to do for geography? Something, like most of you are preparing for this examination. What to do for geography? Please do not fight these 2 books. NCERT class 11th, part 1 and part 2. Do not fight these books. Do not be lazy with them. Read them. Read them. They will give you access to many, many questions. They will give you access to many, many questions. One class I am talking about. I am not even going to 12th standard. 12th standard is a lot of human geography, which is probably I would rate it more for my optional students. That's there. 2 books. Is it a big demand? For your dreams. You're talking about, making your dreams real. 2 books, and the 3rd book is GC Leong. You do this, we are there. The educators have all the material. Unacademy's material support has got all the comprehensive coverage to meet everything else. Get that? Done with this, go on a blitzkrieg, on a wildfire on test. I'm saying 8 questions coming in the examination, 10 questions coming in the examination, 12 questions coming in the examination in geography. You have a chance of extracting 80 to 85% correct. It's a huge accuracy over there. Number 1. Second is, sir, I am a humanities student. Sir, I am a commerce student. Yes. How will I optimize it? I am saying, no matter what you are, the subject is so secular. Sarva Dharma Sambhav. You don't need that. I was looking at the questions. From science. The kind of genetics they were there. Science and tech. I am a science student. I am a life science student. I really found them challenging. So extracting accurate answers in that is like a very, very big challenge. I clearly could see, like that's a very, very big challenge. Here, you just shared with me, nikal sakta hai. You can very well get 80% in this. So if we are looking at something that can give us, 8 to 9 correct answers, why not? It is something worth investing. And I'm saying 3 books. 3 books and a very structured, guidance by your teacher. Follow that in a comprehensive manner, results will come. Sir, is GC Leong in English or Hindi medium? Absolutely English, bache. It was written for the curriculum, international curriculum. So that's there. Get that? Sir, 8 questions. Do you think, sir, really possible this time in geography? Trust your preparation. Yeah, let's look at it. Now, since somebody has asked this question, let us look at this. Permaculture. Possible tha? Only because of the word permaculture versus chemical. A serious student knows that. 1, done. Okay. Just because somebody said, so this is what we are looking. 1, done. Palm oil, done. Palm oil was done. Yes or no? This is there. It's native to Southeast Asia. Again, probably I may be biased. We teach our students, where were the origins of major species. So yes, I can say half sure about it. So still 1 is there. Second is Indus River. Possible? 2. Third, Kuchaman. 3. Fourth, Brahmani. 4. 4.5 is my score. Okay, 8 is what you are talking about. Global Commission grant license, absolutely normal. Absolutely normal question. 5. 5.5, correct. Come on, yeah, this is a sitter. 6. 6.5. 7. This I understand many of you would skip. Done. Given to you. All credit to you. 7.5 we are operating on that. Savannah, possible or not? I'm being very realistic. I'm being realistic. I'm just not giving you stories on this. So we are looking at almost touching 8 with reference. Come on, yaar. NCRT 9. 9. Black cotton 10. So somebody asked me, sir, was it possible to get 8 questions? Yes, 10.5. 10.5. And if you really felt that it is possible, can you raise your hands? Can you say a Y over there in the comment section? In the comment section, can you put a Y that this year I could see? You are an aspirant who's preparing for this examination. I could see that in geography, from the sources which I already know. See, I did not disrespect that question which was difficult. I am aware with you, it is very much possible. You can see for yourself in the comment, any serious aspirant could see very easily we were getting 8. And I think one question we have skipped in this, maybe, like it was missing on that. And trust me, I am very confident on geography, very, very confident on geography. When it comes to environment, I moderate it down. I'm a very realistic teacher on that, because I believe that prelims is not the place. Prelims is not the place where you will take the examiner off his or her feet. Prelims is a entry ticket to IPL. Either to play on your strength. Play on your strength. Whatever your weakness is, protect yourself. Protect yourself. Get that? But when it comes to environment, I am a little moderate on that, because the spectrum is wide, number one. And second, let's be very, very fair. Let's be very, very fair on this, that Indian Forest Service does a lot of change to environment. So it has raised the bar. Get that? So let me look at any question, if we left any of the questions. So from my side, okay. So from my side, these things are done, and I was so glad to see. Like so many Ys coming in, and you are just beginners. And I am not joking that this is a fluke this year. I am saying it is a very, very constant high which we are getting. So I'll just refresh this slide for you. This is the trend which we were talking about, 8 to 12. It has gone up on that, but as I showed you, the trend didn't matter there. So I'm sure you've been waiting for all your teachers. Somebody asked me just now, sir, how about environment? For a beginner, which book must be read? For environment, just give me like some more time, because my economy teacher wants to talk to all of you, and he wants to give you the answers to a very, very challenging area, economy, along with that strategy, and then I will come back with environment. So I'll definitely give you the books on that. Get that? So I would like Vishrut sir will be taking the class on environment, on economy related questions. So I would like to invite Vishrut sir. Sir, please, if you could join us, and students have been keenly waiting for you. Environment is one area where they really want the puzzle to be unlocked.
Yes. Now economy, I'm going to discuss the economy part. Yes. So students, first of all, I welcome you all to this session where I am going to discuss the questions which have appeared today in civil service preliminary examination concerned with Indian economy. Now, first of all, if we see that the level of difficulty of the questions this year has been a notch above the level of difficulty last year, but largely yes, most of the questions can still be easily cracked with little analysis, and I am going to analyze the questions for you. Rather, first of all, let us start with this. Question number 4. First of all, I am starting with this question number 4. It says, consider the following statements: other things remaining equal or remaining unchanged, market demand for a good might increase. Now, here, first of all, if you see what happens, that there is a principle in economics that if a good's quality is inferior and your income rises, then you tend to purchase goods of better quality and not of inferior quality. That means if you look at it, the good is an inferior good and income of the consumers increase. That means if the income of the consumers increase, they would not prefer to buy goods of inferior quality. That means option 3 is totally out, and in that case we are left with only one option, that is 1 and 4. So it is based on that basic principle of economy that if any good is of inferior quality and your income increases, then definitely you like to buy a good which is of higher quality, something better, right, not something inferior. Even otherwise, you can see the first option, the price of its substitute increases. So if the price of the substitute increases, naturally people tend to pay more for the other thing which was earlier original, right. And the price of its complement increases. Now, if the price of the complement increases, then naturally people tend to feel that complement itna महंगा है, so why to purchase this? So naturally, I mean, the price of the complement increases, price of the thing may not increase that way. So obviously here, A, first option is correct option. Second option, let me use this, so that we can make out here. First option is correct option, right? And second option, that the price of its complement increases, this of course is not correct option, correct choice. The good is an inferior good and in the income of the consumer increases, obviously I already explained to you, and its price falls. If the price falls, naturally there is a tendency to buy more. So obviously here, A is the correct choice in this. Then as you can make out here, Indian government bond yields are influenced by which of the following? Now, about this question, let me first of all tell you that the yield of the bond basically means what returns it will give you. Any bond, what returns it will give you. And any bond is likely to, government can fix what returns at the time of issuing a bond. Government will, if it is a government bond, government will decide what should be the yield or percentage at which it will be eventually redeemed, or at which the rate, annual rate of interest which would be paid to those who buy that bond. So as we can see here, that Indian government bond yields are influenced, means any bond yield for that matter, they are influenced not only by domestic monetary policies, but also by international monetary policies. Because as it happens that internationally, if there are fluctuations in the monetary policy of different countries, and if these countries have a bearing on our financial system, then definitely that is going to have some impact on our financial system as well. And that is going to have an impact on the expected yield also. That means that if Fed, for example, the Reserve Bank of India in our case, but in United States of America, This is the Fed, or the federal government, Federal Bank of America, we call that. Federal Bank, it changes its interest rate, it increases or reduces the interest rate, then definitely like international capital investment pattern would change, and that in turn would cause and that in turn would cause impact on the monetary scenario of different countries. Therefore, actions of the United States Federal Reserve, it comes under global influence, and global influence is certainly going to impact the yield of government bond. Actions of the RBI, definitely that is going to have an impact, because RBI's fiscal policies and RBI's repo rate or reverse repo rate and monetary policy decisions, they are going to have an impact on this, and the inflation definitely has an impact on the yield. So definitely here would rather say question number 6, we are all the three are going to all the three would be the correct option here. Now that I am going to discuss question number 8, consider the following statement: the effect of devaluation of a currency. So there are two things about currency. One is called depreciation, another is devaluation. Devaluation means purposefully we are lowering the value of our currency in order to boost our exports. So whenever government wants to boost exports, it normally goes for devaluation. Devaluation has multiple benefits, but one of the benefits is that there is export promotion, and once the export promotion is there, that means exporters will have more of competitiveness of their product. That means it will improve the competitiveness of the domestic exports in foreign markets, right? And increase in the and at the last option, improves the value trade. The second option, second statement, increases the foreign value of the domestic currency. It actually reduces the value of the domestic currency, and it doesn't increase that. And improves the trade balance. It is not necessary that devaluation will necessarily increase the trade balance, because of course it will boost export, but at the same time, if the imports also are boosted in equal proportion, then it will not necessarily give rise to a favorable or improved balance of trade situation. Therefore, obviously here would say that question number, we are talking of question number 8. Question number 8, obviously the A is the correct answer here. Because it would improve the competitiveness of the exports in the international market or foreign markets. So here the obvious choice is A, as we can make out. Now students, the next question which I am going to discuss, question number 9, which one of the following effects of creation of black money in India has been the major cause of worry to the government of India? So for the government, basically black money has been a major concern, because it is kind of parallel economy, and parallel economy means government has no hang of that money, right? And even if government knows, since it is not in the books of accounts, obviously government cannot tax it. So parallel economy or the black money's major concern is the loss of revenue to the state exchequer due to evasion of tax. There is this is black money, so people amass black money and they do not declare that as their income, and government loses on revenue on account of that. So here the correct choice is D. Now the next question I am going to discuss, which one of the following is likely to be the most inflationary in its effect? Now you see that I am talking about question number 10 now. Question number 10. So here, first of all, we should understand all the options given here. Repayment of public debt. If the government is making repayment of public debt, that means large quantities of borrowings which had earlier been there, in large quantity repayment of that borrowing is there. That in turn would rather in a way reduce the money supply, and therefore that is not going to be the option here. Borrowing from the public to finance a budget deficit, that means it will also amount to mopping up the capital from public, so it will also not be the right option. Borrowing from the banks to finance a budget deficit, it is amounting the same thing basically. Both of them, B as well as C, will have more or less the same impact. But here creation of new money, that is in the form of deficit financing, we call that. Deficit financing means that government would create print new currency or a new form of money. So creation of new money to finance budget deficit is definitely like to have greater impact on inflation. So the most inflationary here out of the given options would be option D. Then let us discuss the next question, that is question number 11. Question number 11, now I am talking of money multiplier. The money multiplier in any economy increases with which one of the following? Now, money multiplier, first of all, what is money multiplier? That you should know. Money multiplier is basically the ratio of commercial bank money to that of the central bank. So, whatever is the money held by the commercial banks, if we take the ratio of that with that of the money held by the central bank, that gives us an idea about the money multiplier. Now, money multiplier, as we can see that if there is an increase in the CRR, that in turn would reduce the cash or the money held by commercial banks. So, obviously, this would have an opposite effect. Increase in the statutory liquidity ratio or increase in the statutory liquidity ratio would also not have that effect, because a statutory liquidity ratio or cash reserve ratio amounting to the same thing, it will give the same effect. So, A can't be the option and B can't be the correct option, whereas increase in the population of the country, that necessarily does not mean that they will have banking habits and they will deposit money with the banks. So, obviously, here increase in the banking habit of people, that in turn would have a positive effect on money multiplier, because it is likely to increase, or rather it will increase the money held by the commercial banks to that of the central bank. So, obviously, here increase in banking habit of the people, that would be the correct option. Now, come to question number 12. With reference to Indian economy, the demand pull inflation can be caused or increased by which of the following? The demand pull, that means the inflation can be caused a variety of ways. One of the ways in which inflation increases is what is known as the demand pull factors, that if the demand of a particular commodity increases, then its price will also go up. So, that way we have to identify that with reference to our economic system, demand pull inflation will increase on account of what? Now, the first thing is expansionary policies. So, if government is resorting to a sort of increased lending or increased expenditure, in that case there will be expansion of money supply. So, increased lending or increased spending, that will in turn cause more of money supply, and more of money supply means that it will create demand pull situation. So, obviously, expansionary policy, that is one of them. Fiscal stimulus is also like if government cuts down on taxes and provides some kind of fiscal incentive to people, or increase in the rate of growth of public debt, if that is also one of the fiscal measures as a stimulus, fiscal stimulus. So, obviously, expansionary policy and fiscal stimulus, both will be the factors here. inflation indexing wages basically means that the wages are related to, correlated to inflation. If the inflation is going up and wages are also going up, so that will nullify the impact basically. That as the inflation is rising, the wages are also rising in that same proportion. So eventually its impact will not be there on inflation as such. And then therefore this cannot be the correct statement here. Higher purchasing power, definitely if people have higher purchasing power, that is likely to result in inflationary demand pull inflation or inflationary pressure. Rising interest rate will not do that, because if the interest rates are rising, then people tend to deposit more money with the banks, right, and that will in turn reduce the money supply. So that will not result in demand pull inflation. So demand pull inflation therefore necessarily would mean that here 1, 2 and 4, that would be the correct option. So here, as I can mark here, 1, 2 and 4 would be the right choice. Now after this, come to question number 13. Question number 13, with reference to India, consider the following statements. Now here, this is an interesting question, as we can make out. This question, with reference to India, consider the following statement: retail investors through demat account can invest in treasury bills and Government of India debt bonds in primary market. Now of late, so yeah, we are talking of question number 13. Here now of late, even small investors can invest, the retail investors through demat account can invest in treasury bills, right. As the reform, financial reform is an ongoing process, and in that process the government is trying to open up the economy to the extent possible, so that all the benefits, economic benefits of the system, they reach maximum number of people, right. It is a democratization of the economic reforms, basically is a long drawn out process. So in that process, continuation of that process, now the retail investors can also, through demat or dematerialized accounts, invest in treasury bills and Government of India debt bonds in primary market. Then there is a new platform which has been created by RBI, that is negotiated dealing system, it is called order matching. It is a government securities trading platform of the Reserve Bank of India. So in that same direction, one can correlate 1 and 2, negotiated dealing system and order matching is a government securities trading platform. So obviously 1 is correct and 2 is also correct here. Central Depository Services Limited is jointly promoted by the RBI and the Bombay Stock Exchange. So as we know, the Central Depository Services Limited is actually jointly promoted by the Bombay Stock Exchange and banks like SBI and the other banks. So here RBI is not involved. So 1 and 2, that means we will have the B as the correct option here. 1 and 2 would be the right, that means B would be the correct option, because the statement 3 is not correct. Here instead of Reserve Bank of India, the other banks, the SBI and other banks would come in play. So this 1 and 2 of course are true. That means option B is the correct option here. Now I'll briefly discuss, because we are going to have a long session, special class in the evening, and there of course I will explain to you all the questions in details with all the relevant references and all that. But as of now, briefly, just in order to acquaint you that what is all has happened in the paper today and what all questions we have actually seen. But of course, if you see the trend for Indian economy is this year number of questions, 15 questions we have got this year. And if you see the trend, of course, last 3-4 years number of questions has been varying, and number of questions over the years. It has rather been, so to say, 15 to 30 questions, sometimes up to, it has been up to 29-30 questions also from Indian economy, but this year we are having only 15 questions. So that way what we find that Indian economy continues to dominate the paper. 15 questions mean 15% is scored from Indian economy alone, so it continues to dominate the situation in the paper, and therefore your emphasis on the Indian economy has to be so to say very focused one. The strategy, as far as the strategy is concerned, I can tell you that the best strategy to prepare for Indian economy is that you have to yourself keep in touch with the latest developments, because as you can make out here, most of the questions they have been derived from the recent happenings. If the RBI has created a platform for trading of securities, and particularly the government securities, then they have inserted a question on that. Inflation is often talked about, what all factors they decide the inflation, whether it is demand pull inflation or the other forms of inflation, or due to other factors. So you should focus rather more on those Economic Times articles or Hindu articles which are talking about the economic policies of the government and recent changes in the economic policies of the government. You see that I cracked the IAS examinations several years ago, and I have been into this IAS mentoring for almost more than 2 decades now. And with my experience, I can tell you that, and if you see one of my videos, recent videos, I had already predicted most of the questions there. And of course, they are not directly as such from that video, but you can see indirectly all the questions will have some correlation or the other, because there also, like I had given current happening based questions, and here as you find today in the paper, nearly, so to say, more than 10 questions out of 15 questions, they are basically from some current happening in the recent past or the other. So students, what I would advise therefore is that instead of just going through the textbooks, the best strategy to crack preliminary examination as far as economy is concerned, the subject which I am discussing with you right now, is that you should focus more on the current economic happenings, and Economic Times and the Hindu paper, these 2 papers, or you can also see the other papers, of course. I mean, you should not be fussy about, because all of them would be reporting the things, plus PIB website you can see, and from there relevant economic articles, articles concerned with economy that you should see. So जैसे यहाँ अभी जो पेपर में सारे questions आए हैं, उस सारे questions यदि आप उस track को follow कर रहे हैं, तो it would be very easy for you to answer all these questions. But of course, I should very candidly admit that the level of difficulty of this paper is so to say one notch above what it was last year or last year, or if you see the papers of last 2-3 years, right, it has been one notch above. Some questions they require you state of the art knowledge. I mean, the current happenings should be perfect. यदि उसमें आपने करंट हैपनिंग्स की तरफ ध्यान नहीं दिया और केवल टेक्स्ट बुक का स्टडी किया है, तो उससे आप ये क्वेश्चंस आंसर पूरी तरह से नहीं कर पाओगे. आई मीन एटलीस्ट 4 to 5 questions in the present today's paper that you will not be able to answer if you rely entirely on the textbook, right? So what I'm saying is that the best strategy to prepare for IAS examination now, right, as I'm telling you this strategy from this Unacademy platform, which is now the most happening place in the country, and the best educators in the country are now associated with Unacademy. So what I'm saying is that you should make it a point to remember that you have to necessarily look into current issues on economy and other subjects also. Like most of the other subjects, of course, there will be a detailed analysis of all the subjects now in the evening, and we are going to conduct special classes on that. And there I will show you, as far as my subject is concerned, economy, that how these questions have actually come about, and what is the best way to understand and answer these questions, so that in the minimum possible time you will be able to answer these questions, almost all the questions, right. Now in the evening I will give you a detailed analysis where I cover each and every question, right. But here now I am going to talk about this water credit is the new buzzword, because water credit is something If poor people are not having access to drinking water, they don't have access to water for sanitation, then what should they do? Government provides subsidy, but that subsidy is not sufficient for these people to actually meet their water requirement. And water crisis is looming large. We know that water table is also going down, underground water table is going down, and in several smaller cities as well as larger cities, water crisis is already simmering to a big extent. And at the same time, you'll find that water crisis for the poor people is getting more and more intense with the passage of time. तो वाटर क्राइसिस पे कुछ न कुछ क्वेश्चन तो वैसे इकोनॉमी में हमेशा एक्सपेक्टेड रहता है, बट दिस ईयर वी वर एक्सपेक्टिंग अ क्वेश्चन ऑन वाटर क्राइसिस इन दिस इन सम फॉर्म और द अदर. अब जिस फॉर्म में क्वेश्चन आया है वो क्वेश्चन ये है, वाटर क्रेडिट के ऊपर क्वेश्चन आया है. तो वाटर क्रेडिट जो है वो बेसिकली वही चीज़ है कि पुअर पीपल को यदि स्मॉल क्रेडिट्स आर प्रोवाइडेड, दे आर प्रोवाइडेड विथ स्मॉल फंड्स, so that they can overcome their water scarcity problem, and they can have access to water for their own hygiene and sanitation as well as for drinking and other purposes. Is a great, and this idea question primarily is projecting that idea. So if you had read some article about, easily answer this question, as it can in the water and sanitation sector. So in the water and sanitation sector, microfinance, if small amounts of loans are provided to farmers and small amount of loans are provided to poor people who are not able to afford safe clean drinking water and water for sanitation, then obviously this is one of the basic purpose of water credits. Then it is a global initiative launched under the aegis of the World Health Organization and World Bank. It is so far not, it has so far not acquired that ramification. Actually, it is just a budding idea as of now, and therefore it is not sponsored by World Bank or. So it aims to enable poor people to meet their water needs without depending on subsidies. Obviously, that is the idea. That they don't have to bank only on subsidies, and even otherwise subsidies. We know that through subsidies we cannot completely solve the problem. There will always be gaps in solving that particular problem if we rely only on subsidies. So here the idea is that going beyond subsidies and aiming to enable the poor people so that they are able to meet their water needs without depending only on subsidies. Therefore, obviously here, out of the three statements given, 1 and 3, these 2 statements are correct, and so C would be the right option for this. Then come to the last question, question number 15. I want to discuss with you that too. Question number 15. So I discussed briefly the strategy part, that what should be the right strategy, and I also discussed that if you see the trend in the past also, you see UPSC trend on subjects, more or less there is a constancy in that. What is that constancy? There are 2 factors of constancy in that. Number 1, the general emphasis on subject has been on fundamental ideas. If you are clear about the fundamental ideas of the subject, may it be economy or history or polity or geography, right? Fundamental ideas means the basic concepts, if they are clear, right? Then you can easily make out even in the examination hall, if you have not seen that particular exact article or that particular exact topic earlier, you can still make out the correct answer in the examination. If you have got correct fundamental idea that inflation is a result of the factors which what all economic factors cause inflation, and what all economic factors they are the demand pull factor, and what is yield of a particular bond, and how is the yield affected. Yield is affected not merely by the the national monetary policy, but it is also affected by global changes, right, in monetary policy, as though that particular question has come here today. So what I am saying is that if you have a good grasp of the fundamental ideas, that is number 1 thing. Number 2, and more importantly, which I already discussed that as a part of strategy with you, is that you have to keep a tab on the current happenings of that particular subject. So nowadays increasingly, because as an IAS officer, even after your selection as an IAS officer, you will have to keep a tab on current happenings, because as a person occupying a key position in government, obviously you will need to write big notes on files which are concerned with the policy formulation of the government or policy implementation of the government, and that will necessarily require you to have up to date knowledge of the current happenings around you. So students, what I am saying is that one aspect is very important. Two important things, two important underlying ideas जो आज मैंने आपसे डिस्कस किए हैं, इसको यदि आप ध्यान में रखोगे तो आप इजीली प्रीलिम्स भी, मेंस भी और इसके बाद में इवन इंटरव्यू भी, राइट, you can easily go through all these stages and finally get selected. But the only condition for that, as I said, that you have to keep these two particular aspects in mind all the time, so that there is no deviation from the main course of strategy. Other things you can always build on it कि मुझे पढ़ाई कैसे करनी है या उसको किस तरह से डेवलप करना है, नोट्स कैसे बनाने हैं, कितना टाइम किस सब्जेक्ट को देना है, वो सारे एस्पेक्ट्स फिर जो है वो सेकेंडरी एस्पेक्ट्स है. प्राइमरी एस्पेक्ट पे ये दो चीज़ें जो मैंने आपको बताई है, राइट, दैट यू हैव टू टेक नोट ऑफ. नाउ स्टूडेंट्स, व्हाट आई एम सेइंग, आई एम गोइंग टू डिस्कस दिस क्वेश्चन नंबर 15 as well. Before, of course, in the evening, I'm going to give you the complete analysis of these questions, all the 15 questions from Indian economy. But now in India, the central bank's function as a lender of last resort is usually referring to what? The lender of last resort basically means that if a commercial bank has nothing else to resort to, and it is in crisis situation and it is in great need of liquidity. So in that case, what the bank would do? So in that case, it has to resort to the RBI, that is the Reserve Bank of India, as a lender of last resort. So here, obviously, you see that this is the basic idea, lender of last resort. So RBI is the lender of last resort for those banks which are in crisis and they are in need of liquidity. Therefore, providing liquidity to the banks having a temporary crisis. So they overcome the crisis and of course subsequently they have to repay what they have borrowed from the Reserve Bank. So we have number of mechanisms for that. I mean, so what I'm saying is that here, second statement, the first statement, lending to trade and industry bodies, of course that is not the connotation of the question, which is asking that lender of the last resort. So lender of the last resort का मतलब होता है providing liquidity to the banks having a temporary crisis. और लैंडिंग जहाँ तक गवर्नमेंट को लैंडिंग का सवाल है फाइनेंस करने के लिए बजटरी डेफिसिट को, तो वहाँ पे वो इट इज़ नॉट द लैंडर ऑफ द लास्ट रिजोर्ट, वो तो एक उसका ऑनगोइंग फंक्शन है आरबीआई का, दैट ऑफ कोर्स आरबीआई एंड इन टेंडम विद द गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी दे हैव टू फाइंड द सॉल्यूशन ऑफ द फिस्कल इश्यूज made be the fiscal deficit or made be budgetary deficit or anything concerned with the fiscal policy of the government, right? Fiscal policy of the Reserve Bank of India and the fiscal issues of the government. So they have to work together in tandem and find the solutions of those things. So here again, this question is also based on fundamental concept. So here it will be providing liquidity to the banks having a temporary crisis. Therefore, option B, that is second statement. That would be the right answer. So what I'm saying, students, now I have briefly discussed most of these questions which have appeared in the paper today, and we are also going to have a detailed analysis of that in a special class, which of course I'd be conducting that special class immediately after the lunch, the timing of which would be announced to you, and so you don't miss out on that. There definitely we are going to talk about now. This one slide I wanted to show you that if we talk of economy, here you can see that number of questions 29, 29, 25, 28, 23. So in the previous years, economy used to dominate the scene, to a great extent. But here this year, number of questions we have got from the economy is primarily focused on current issues. As current issues are here, we got the 15 questions this year. But if you see all the previous years, the number of questions has been rather on the much higher side, almost so to say initially in vicinity of 29, 29, 30, that is 29, 29, and then 25, 28, 23, and now. That doesn't mean, don't mistake this trend to mean that next year you are going to have less number of questions or even less than 15. No, it's not like that. economy is one solid area on which you have to have firm foundations, and a number of questions here. The trend, of course, the only thing we should understand is that in this analysis there is greater emphasis on current happenings, and most of the questions are current happening based questions and the questions which are based on fundamental concepts and ideas of Indian economy. So students, again now in the evening I am going to have a special class, and there of course I am going to explain in details about all these questions which have appeared today, and also the remaining part, whatever is remaining, that also I am going to discuss with you. In the meantime, I wish you all the very best, and now you are going to have an analysis on history. Science and technology. You are going to now have an analysis of science and technology. So I thank you so much.
Yeah, hi guys. Quickly going through the analysis and key of science and tech. So overall, as you see, 14 questions, right? 14 questions. Largely they were somewhere in line between static, factual, conceptual with current affairs. So with science and tech questions. Just 1 second. I'm just checking, guys. Kul mila ke, I mean, overall, if you observe, the question pattern, even with science and technology, remains the same standard as they had with the other subjects. Which one of the following is used in preparing a natural mosquito repellent? So, Congress grass, elephant grass, lemon grass, nut grass. This is more like NCERT level, straightforward factual question. There's nothing much to analyze. You know or you don't know. There's no midway in between. Answer is C. Remember, many of the answers that we are giving is will have detailed explanations in the end with sources from which book, etc. that we have taken. Another question with reference to recent developments regarding recombinant vector vaccines, again typical of the vaccine question which we were expecting. Consider the following statement: genetic engineering is applied in the development of these vaccines. Bacteria and virus are used as vectors. So you need to know what are vectors and those. So factual textbook type question. Answer is C, both 1 and 2. This question they are asking which of the above two statements is or are correct. So both 1 and 2 are correct. So both the statements, genetic engineering is applied in development of these recombinant vector vaccines, and then bacteria and virus are used as vectors. In the context of hereditary diseases, consider the following statements: passing on mitochondrial diseases from parent to child can be prevented by mitochondrial replacement therapy either before or after in vitro fertilization of egg. A child inherits mitochondrial disease entirely from mother and not from father. Textbook question, NCERT. Which of the following statements given below is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. It's answer C. Fact, this is concept, basic science, core science rather than science and technology. This is core science. Mitochondrial diseases, how they transmit from a generation to generation. Bolgard 1 and Bolgard 2 many times has been in news this year, are mentioned in the context of clonal propagation of crop plants, development of genetically modified crops or plants, production of plant growth substances, production of fertilizers, biofertilizers actually. Answer is B, Bolgard 1 and Bolgard 2, genetically modified crops. So few times it's been in news. Express, even Indian Express had an article on this, editorial in early this year. Consider the following: bacteria, fungi, virus. Which of the above can be cultured in artificial or synthetic medium? Still a very you could say understanding based or conceptual based question, very deep. In fact, what does the question mean by synthetic medium becomes a challenge for us to understand. At this point, tentatively we are still considering the answer to be 1 and 2. This may change because that very definition of what do they mean by synthetic medium is still something we need to give a little bit more clarity on. So, but then yeah, as of now it is option A. The 9th question and 70th question. Consider the following statements. Adenovirus have single-stranded DNA genomes, whereas retroviruses have double-stranded DNA genomes. Common cold is sometimes caused by adenovirus, whereas acquired immunodeficiency syndrome or AIDS is caused by retrovirus. Which of the following statements given above is or are correct? See, option 2 is correct. Retrovirus, there is a therapy also, right? For we use for AIDS clear for treatment. Option B, which of the following since this correct is option B. What are adenoviruses? What are retroviruses? These again core basic science in your science and technology. Water can dissolve more substances than any other liquid because it is dipolar in nature, it is good conductor of heat, it has a high value of specific heat, it is an oxide of hydrogen. Since the question is straightforward factual question, answer should be A. I'm pretty sure it is dipolar in nature. With reference to street lighting, how do sodium lamps differ from diode lamps, LED lamps? Sodium lamps produce light in 360 degree, but it is not so in the case of LED. As street lights, sodium lamps have longer span than LED lamps. The spectrum of visible light from sodium lamps is almost monochromatic, while LED lamps offer significant color advantages in street lighting. Select the correct answer from the codes given below. A 3 only, B 2 only, C 1 and 2, D 1 2 3. The option here is 1 and 3 are correct. See, sodium lamps do not have higher lifespan than LED lamps. Option C 1 and 3. The term ACE2 is talked about in the context of genes introduced in the genetically modified plants, development of India's own satellite navigation system, radio collars for wildlife trafficking, and spread of viral diseases. ACE2, spread of viral diseases. Again, due to COVID season, pandemic season as well, this has been in news. So, we were expecting these type of questions last year actually. Some like these type of questions were pretty much in the banks in last year, but this time they have come this year. Bisphenol A or BPA, a cause of concern, is a structural or key element in the manufacture of which of the following kind of plastics? Low density polyethylene, polycarbonates, polyethylene terephthalates, polyvinyl chloride. B, polycarbonate. See, you will have this often regular stickers on specific plastic entities or your regular daily use entities called BPA free. So, bisphenol A, it's comes quite common in your basics, basically for the sake of business. They have been in use a lot. Triclosan. Which of the following is the reason why astronomical distances are measured in light years? Distances among stellar bodies do not change. Gravity of stellar bodies does not change. Light always travels in a straight line. Speed of light is always the same. Light always travels in a straight line. 3 into 10 to the power of 8 meters per second. So, light always travels in a straight line. That is why we generally calculate astronomical distances as light years. So, those were mainly the science and technology questions. Now, if you see of the 14 questions, nearly about 10 questions were actually from textbook. These were classic textbook questions. If you had read your NCRTs, your NCRT basic 8th, 9th, 10th, including 11th and 12th, your science textbooks, you would have been able to answer these and also those light emitting diodes question, the sodium lamp light emitting diode question, that is a current affairs question that actually came from current affairs. This one was current affairs. This is basic science, again from your textbook, basic science, NCRT textbook, science mein hai ye, this will come. This has been in news a lot, this particular topic. Now, numerous times, numerous discussions have happened on these continuously, consistently. So, again, as I said, of the 14, 10 questions, given that they came from the basic, core areas. Science and technology again re-establishes herself, or the question paper clearly shows us that with science and technology as well, it's more important to have your conceptual clarity and your basic knowledge. Your foundations must be extremely strong. See, often people go, when the minute they hear science and technology, they just go into this, huge technological books and reading huge papers and everything, forgetting the basic questions like pressure cooker question or the light emitting diodes question or the density of water question. These type of questions, Bolgard 1, Bolgard 2, these topics, if you observe in the evening explanations, will be showing you, most of these were actually coming in regular current affairs. So what they've done is, they've taken an article from the newspaper, then ended up making up a question from that article or the topic of the newspaper from your textbook. So classic textbooks se nikal ke they've done it, classic from the textbook. That's where science and technology went. 14 questions. This is more for you in terms of your economy, geography and stuff. These questions are extremely important. Science and technology, given that 14 questions, it could be a make and break this time. Often we've never seen, at least I've not seen so many science and tech questions on a regular basis. This is just once in a while that we do end up getting these levels of questions with science and tech. Lemongrass, mitochondrial disease, genetically modified crops, 2 questions. From that particular topic, genetically modified crops, 2 questions. They seems to have in this, and shortly we will be adding current affairs questions now, and whatever current affairs topics are there next. There have also been about 6 questions from current affairs. Okay, so 6 questions have come from current affairs. So those have to be discussed, and those will be also very important for you. So as you can see, 6 questions from current affairs and some of the miscellaneous questions. 14 and 6. 6 is still very important, guys. See the pattern. So they've always kind of reduced it in the last 2 years, but now they've suddenly went for a shoot. And in prelims exam this year, I'm pretty sure history, polity, environment, science and tech, they will have a big role to play. And an interesting part is, see the number of economy questions. Now given that over the last few years we've been always saying economy, 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 so almost from having nearly 30% of the question paper to they've brought it down to 15%. So but that's a huge drop. But remember, that could be both a warning. Just because there is a drop in economy doesn't mean you're going to give it up. And that's the same with science and tech. See, there's been a sudden shoot in science and technology, 3 questions extra on top of the regular with science and technology. Current affairs discussion will happen. Some of these will also do come under current affairs, like Bolgard question, the adenovirus question, the LED question, ACE wala question, again pandemic, endemic, the viral load, these topics pe they've asked a lot of questions unlike the past. Triclosan question is agriculture as well. So this might have been from agriculture and effects. Give us 5 minutes, guys. In 5 minutes, we're going to start the current affairs questions, and we're going to discuss current affairs key. It was very interesting that 2 of our biggest contributors every year in our prelims, environment and economy. See, generally if you see in 2016, they were nearly about 50% of the paper. 29 and 21 is like 50% of the paper. Half of the paper could have been done only with environment and economy, they brought it down to 30%. So they kind of, what we say, democratization of question pattern has begun. See that there's an average approximate 15 number sequence among the questions, approximate 15 number. If you see all the questions, they're coming around the 15 mark. So what should be your strategy for next year? I mean, what should you be thinking? Categorize your syllabus, take something like this, maybe not the exact, but something like this. Categorize your syllabus, plan it very well, and dedicate a fixed amount of hours for this. And please remember, this number is only for you to take as a reference. This does not mean these many questions may come next year, or these many questions may end up coming in the following year. It doesn't work that way. Let me take some of the questions from you now. Okay, meanwhile, we bring the current affairs. Okay, just 1 second, guys. I'm just yes, weightage of science and technology is extremely high. I mean, good weightage. I mean, 14 questions is a good weightage, guys. Very good weightage. Yeah, it travels in. See, Rahul Saxena, I understand, but see, Rahul, in that question, they've asked the speed of light. I mean, they did not give us an option of speed of light is constant. They did not give that, right? Speed of light is constant, is not available in the option. Now, this is something which every aspirant has to understand this. While a question is given, you are supposed to answer the question from within the domains of that question. It doesn't matter what you know. I mean, it doesn't matter what you know. I mean, how much you know, how much of you known is right or wrong. That's not relevant when you're answering these type of questions. You have to sit within the domains of the question, among the available options, the best possible option. That is your only purpose with these questions. Yeah, science was very easy, straight questions. No, it was 14 questions. Yes, you have to answer based on whatever is given. Okay, Rahul, yes. Okay, Rajesh, you are asking what is the level of prelims this year? See, I would say, I mean, if you ask me, I would call this somewhere between moderate to difficult. Given why I say it is difficult is because students have been following the pattern of going through a textbook, and that monotony of reading only a book and then getting through the exam has gone now. I mean, that's why we can comfortably call this somewhere between moderate to difficult. But as such, if somebody is going through by the syllabus, it's actually an easy paper. 50% of the paper can easily be answered. Again, specialized book for science and technology, I wouldn't really advise anything like that. See, most of you, at least with science and tech, your core science foundation has to be perfect. Your biology, your core science textbooks from your NCERT, they have to be perfect. You have to do them perfectly, on par, on time, perfectly. If you don't do that, then things can go really bad. What will be the cutoff? See, I'm expecting a cutoff around 90, somewhere about 90. If you observe all the questions, even with history getting 20 questions, which were obviously slightly unconventional questions, and science and tech were conventional. I mean, most of these were actually static questions. Agreed. Polity were a little more in depth. Polity questions were also a little more conceptual rather than straightforward factual questions. So that part, if you see, I'm not expecting any cutoff above last year. Max I see is 92. Maybe like last year, may go slightly low. The cutoff can go slightly low. Now, see, that's a discussion we will be able to do a little more time later, because what happens is in these initial 1-2 days we try to figure out some of the questions, understand the patterns of how the students have gone through across the board, how students wrote, how did they feel, what was their reactions, and then only a little later, only in a while, 1 or 2 days later only we'll be able to come to a regular judgment of cutoff. Like last year we were saying cutoffs of about 100, but then it ended up to be 92. So like that it happens every year. So for beginners, for those who are starting new for the first time, 2022, 23, 24 guys, this is the time to start with your NCERT, but again do not end it with them. So when we say read, say I'll tell what happens with us. In our until our graduation, we are so indoctrinated about reading a book and answering the questions from the book. I mean, our schools, our colleges have trained us with that. That read this book, questions will come from this book, answer these. So we know that pattern. So we are trying to implement the same pattern in this exam. Most students are trying to do this. It doesn't work that way in with UPSC. With UPSC, you can't really have a one-stop shop books or one-stop shop solution. You can start with NCERT but do not end with them. Yes, sports questions. Yes, current affairs में sports questions, and that's a unique. I mean, I think in the last 15 or 20 years, for this is the first time they've asked sports questions. Yes, see which newspaper, with every newspaper, it doesn't matter which newspaper you read, it could be Hindu, it could be Indian Express, it could be any, it doesn't matter which newspaper you read, but when you read a newspaper, distance yourself from the ideological aspect or the opinionated statements of the newspaper. Stay away from that. Do not have an opinion. Newspapers are very opinionated nowadays. I mean, they give their own judgments, their own opinions. Read the topic, understand the analysis, the pros and the cons. Suppose a topic is mentioned, it is what against. Understand these both and leave it. So you don't go into the conclusions of the newspaper. Ideally, in newspaper articles, conclusions of the articles have to be ended, have to be stopped. Conclusions of the article. Ideally, in the newspaper, prefer to end them or prefer to avoid them in the conclusions of the article. Now, so now next they're going to come and start. The next faculty is going to discuss with you the current affairs part. Okay, there's 6 questions of current affairs, right? Let me only finish it off and let me discuss them. The current affairs part, as you were saying, sports and all those came. Let me check this, guys, 1 second. Okay, yes, they're just checking. Current affairs and miscellaneous. Okay, I'll only finish it off. Not many questions came. Consider the following statements. 21st February is declared as International Mother Language Day by UNICEF. The demand that Bangla has to be one of the national languages was raised in the Constituent Assembly of Pakistan. Which of the following statements? These are correct. See, it's actually option B. International Mother Language Day, 21st February, is observed by UNESCO, not UNICEF. UNICEF doesn't do that. So it is UNESCO. February 1948, it was Dhirendrananda Datta, who was a representative of East Pakistan Constituent Assembly members. So he raised the question for the first time, but then this was obviously rejected. Immediately the Dhaka University students went on a protest and they raised the Bangla issue. This year, see, 1971 mein eventually it is because of this issue that East Pakistan split away from Pakistan and came out as Bangladesh, because Bangla was being ignored and Urdu and English was being promoted or propagated as national languages of the state of Pakistan. So option B is correct. It should be option B. Consider the following statements. Right to city is an agreed human right, and UN Habitat monitors and commitments made by each country in this regard. The right to city gives every occupant of city the right to reclaim public spaces and public participation in the city. So right to the city means that the state cannot deny any public service or facility to unauthorized colonies in the city. Which of the following statements above given is or are correct? So 1 and 2 are correct. Right to city is basically under UN Habitat scheme. So it's a commitment made by each country in this regard, where they will provide, they agree that the residents of the city will have full rights over public spaces and public participation in the operations of the city or in the facilities of the city. So this was a newspaper. In Express there was an article about right to city UN Habitat program. Okay, and 81 is option C. 1 and 2 are correct. So which are the following statements is or are correct? 97th question is consider the following. United Nations Capital Development Fund and Arbor Day Foundation have recently recognized Hyderabad as 2023 City of the World, and Hyderabad was selected for the recognition for a year following its commitment to grow and maintain the urban forests. Which of the following is correct in respect to the above statements? Both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, and statement 2 is the correct explanation of A. Both 1 and 2 are correct, but statement 2 is not the explanation of A. Statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 not correct. Statement 1 is not correct, but statement 2 is correct. Statement 1 is not correct. See, Hyderabad does have urban forestries, and Hyderabad is developing a very strong urban forestry. They have a program called Harita Haram. This was in news, and that's what eventually brought this in current affairs. This is purely current affairs. Previously we used to have this questions like assertion reasoning. It's a slight variation of that type of questions. Assertion reasoning question was slightly changed to become the statement 1, statement 2 type of questions. Consider the following statements in respect of Laurier's World Sports Award, which was instituted in the year 2000. American golfer Tiger Woods was the first winner of this award. The award was received mostly by Formula 1 players so far. Roger Federer received this award maximum number of times compared to others. Yes, it's a World Sports Award. I mean, in fact, Formula 1 is not really considered as a world sport as such. 1 and 3, option C, 1 and 3. Which are the following statements is or are correct? 1 and 3 statements are correct. Laurier's World Sports Award, it's a very big important sports award given in recognition to world sportsmen. Apart from those regular Olympics and all those sports awards, is like a very important award. Consider the following statement regarding 32nd Summer Olympics. Official motto of Olympics is a new world. Sports climbing, surfing, skateboarding, karate and baseball are included in this Olympics. Which of the following statements is or are correct? Option 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 or 2. It's option B. Option B is the correct answer. And yes, these were new sports. Sports climbing, surfing, karate and baseball were included in the Olympics as new games in the 32nd Summer Olympics. Consider the following statements in respect of ICC World Test Championship. The finalists were decided by a number of matches they won. New Zealand was ranked ahead of England because it won more matches in England. Which of the following statements is or are correct? Option B, neither 1 nor 2. Now that's really how it worked out. In terms of sports, as you can see, current affairs, they actually made current affairs a sports subject. So sports, no, art and culture actually. This is somewhere about current affairs and art and culture. It's a fine line between current affairs and art and culture. It's somewhere midway between these two. These were the current affairs questions, 100 questions of all. Now that's the all the 100 questions that we had in terms of the key. In the night, guys, special classes are going to start, and we're going to discuss again some of each of these questions with their explanations and sources from which book to study. In fact, how to start your preparation. Now, for those who have done this paper very good, who are pretty sure of covering at least 56 to 60 questions right after cutoff, you have to start your mains preparation from tomorrow. You have to be on the mains thing from tomorrow. And for those who are going for 2022, 2023, this is a curtain raiser. So be prepared. This paper is a style where we have to again go back to our brainstorming and understand what is UPSC demanding from us. UPSC is actually clearly saying they need concepts. They need you to know, they need you to learn the language, learn the subject, not just read the subject. So reading multiple times, doing it multiple times may not really help you anymore. I mean that model doesn't seems to be working now, having a single subject. Overall trend, if you see, as expected, somewhere between moderate to difficult. Okay, somewhere between moderate to difficult paper, and okay. See, I understand, Sakshi, economy, a proper detailed explanation will be given in the special classes. Okay, so we will give a very detailed special classes. The special class link is mentioned in the chat box. You please click on it, enroll in it. Those are free classes. Understand the pattern of the questions, the key, the trend, the detailed trend of comparative, how it went last year and how it has gone this year. Everything will be given. See, Sachin, the unconventional questions, are those which you can actually get it from your environment, from your newspaper only. I mean, I generally say from newspaper. And look, at the end of the day, of the 100 questions, we are expecting you to answer only about 50 questions exactly right after doing all the negatives. You are supposed to do only 50 questions right after getting all the negatives and everything gone. The idea is that after your negative marking, your cutoffs and all this, you need to have 50 questions right. 100 for this paper, I personally believe about 100 is a safe score. Approximately 100 is a safe score. If you are around 100, about 95, 100 range, start moving into your mains. Do not waste a single day, single hour. It's a very important thing. The mains batch, I mean, one of you is asking, when does the mains course start? The mains course will start very soon. I will let you know the date. We'll let you know the time. We won't be wasting any time. Today, by end of the day itself, you will know the exact date of the mains batch, the All India rank batch and all that. Mains questions. Okay, you have any more questions? Environment discussion will begin, guys, very shortly. In 5 minutes, environment faculty will discuss with you the questions. Even with environment and ecology, questions were between somewhere about the unconventional range. So they were a little wild, and just like history and science and technology was okay. Just like history and polity, even environment was a little wild type of questions. For those of 2023, 2024, this is your curtain raiser, guys. You have to focus on it. Even for the 22, be prepared. Probably this is the style. And you have to read everything. I mean, there is no second option. There is no choice that I don't like this syllabus, I don't like that syllabus. There is no opportunity now. You must have to continue this preparation and you have to read them as it is. Any more questions? Any more questions? If you have, please do ask. Okay, give us 2 minutes, guys. In 2 minutes, environment and ecology sir will come. See, Ayush, you have a good question. See, how to retain the concepts that we have studied. I'll tell where students do mistake nowadays. Suppose you read a book. So most of you, what you do is you do two things. One, you highlight the statements, correct? Am I right? One you do is highlight the statements. The second you do is you again either rewrite everything in a book. Don't do both. Create a mind map. Suppose you're reading about a personality in history. Suppose you're reading Gandhi. So there are two phases of Gandhi that you will have to read, or you have to make a mind map. The South African Gandhi, the Mahatma Gandhi. So what all information about South African Gandhi, his book, what he did, what was his revolts, what was Tolstoy from, what was Phoenix from, this on one side of the paper. Gandhi's early phase, so first 20 years of Gandhi, next 20 years of Gandhi in India, 1920 to 1940, 1940 to 1948. So this part on this side, his contributions, his students, his ideology. If you create a mind map like this, it's very easy to revise. The problem with underlining pattern and with the rewriting pattern of the book is all you will make up is another set of material. The idea is not to make another set of material, right? Whatever you spend, every minute you spend here, the logic is you spend 1 minute reading a book today. Tomorrow in revision, you should be able to spend only 30 seconds on it. Instead, what happens nowadays? People spend 1 minute here in reading first time, 2 minutes in the second time. That's actually counterproductive. And this conceptual clarity actually comes only through your mind maps and your flow charts and your handwritten notes, not statements. Don't write full statements. I see, ideally for prelims, say prelims is in June, you should be done with your syllabus at least by Feb, March, and then see this logic. See, take this calculation. Suppose if you do 50 questions a day over 30 days, only 50 questions a day over 30 days. So that's almost like 1500 questions. So if you do this over 3 months or say 100 days like this, you are doing a lot of questions, right? See, this is basically probability. You do 100 questions, the opportunity of you putting everything as right is 1 question or 10% convertibility. So you do 1000 questions, 100 questions. You do 10,000 questions, you have 1000 questions which you are ready. So your end of the day, if you want to be safe, secure here, many people who actually felt a little shaky in this paper may have had a weakness in their test series preparation because they might not have been able to do as many tests that they should have. So focus on the test series. They are very here, very important. History optional, Naveen Tiwari, yes. See, history optional would have definitely helped in today's prelims questions, like the Nunes question where Fernand Nunes and how Nunes works. With history optional on Unacademy, I do history optional on Unacademy as well. So with Fernand Nunes questions and all those, they did help, and it was, these are quite useful in your preparation. For newcomers, focus on NCERT, Kainath Patnaik. Your NCERT is where it should start. Your NCERT is where everything must and should start. Okay. Now we've got environment and ecology questions. The sir is coming and we'll begin them. We'll give a discussion. Don't forget, from 8 o'clock we'll be beginning the special classes where all questions with detail, with a proper source explanation will be given, because meanwhile what we have done is we are authenticating all the questions again just to make sure questions are exactly right. This is, at this point, this remains only a tentative key. and there's our faculty, and I'll move the mic to faculty Sachin sir, and he will be doing finishing your environment questions. Okay. Yes, guys. Just 1 second.
Hi all, I am back. I know you were waiting for environment also, so let us get into environment. So, very warm welcome to all of you once again. So, we are in the last, I guess, the topic of the day is environment. So, we saw geography was on the easier side, and we were able to get around 80% of the questions. Environment, I've always put my expectations a little moderate on that. So yes, there are many questions which are from areas maybe unheard of, probably through some elimination if you can get those answers. So we will be looking at them one by one. Get that? So, so somebody saying CSET का पेपर कैसा आया? अभी पहले ये कर ले. CSET का पेपर पे भी आपको मिल जाएगा. At the end of this session, this will be followed by special sessions with detailed explanations on each topic, including your CSET. So the links will be there. Please make sure that you look into that. Get that? Okay. So we are looking at environment and some of the questions. Let me take them one by one. R2 Code of Practices constitute a tool available for promoting adoption of what? R2 Code of Practices, well, if you knew it, then it's fine. But here I am looking at where could have we gone into elimination and getting this. So the answer is A alpha. Answer is A alpha. Get that? So when we are looking at B, ecological management of wetlands of international importance under Ramsar, no, we've not heard of that. So this was eliminated. Sustainable practices in cultivation of agriculture crops and degraded lands. When we are talking about, like code of practices was not there on this also. Environment impact assessment in the exploitation of natural resources. If I was confused, I would have been confused in A and D. So one area, definitely a challenging question. If you did not know about it, yes, a tough call. Like as I was talking about in geography, that some of them we will have to skip, jump and not be too committed on that. So I would save my time. This was a 50-50. A and D were my doubts, and we have settled for A alpha. Get that? Moving further. So I'll consider the following statement. Okay, so again the same thing. Again we are looking at pollutants. Pollution is a very, very big favorite of the examiner. Furnace oil. Furnace oil is, you've heard of fractional distillation of crude petroleum. One of the byproduct is furnace oil. Those heavier components, asphalt and all, they all collect and become a part of that. So it is a product of oil refinery. Yes, it is a product of oil refinery. Absolutely correct. Some industries use it to generate power. I would not say that this is the favorite source of generating power. This is the heavier fraction. The calorific value will be low, and those flash points will be higher. But I would say some, that gives me that degree of freedom. Some industries use it to generate. Yes, some industries do use it to generate. I would not say the most of the industries. It is not the most efficient way of using this oil. Its use causes sulfur emission. Oh yes, sulfur dioxide or sulfur oxides are a very, very big emitter of this. So the answer for this also comes D delta. Get that? And again with the same idea which I want everyone to realize, that pollution is a static portion. We've just seen back-to-back static portions. The first question which we were looking at, R2 code for compliance, that was more about, something for which you can't draw boundaries and you have doubts. But the static part, if we are missing on that, I was talking about this in geography also. These are the areas where others can go ahead of you, not the previous one. So make sure that the static part, especially pollution, is not left ignored. The trend continues with that. What is blue carbon? So now this is definition. I'm sure we have all heard of that. So generally there is something called as black carbon. We all of us know about soot, burning fuel and leftovers is your black carbon. Yes. There is something called as red carbon also. Yes, red carbon also. I can give you a whole world of this. I have green carbon. I have blue carbon. I even have something called as steel carbon. The multiple types of this. So I think again a static part. 3 questions back to back static. Environment people are running from pillar to post. 2 questions coming from pollution. Static questions. Third question is this. Sir, I have not heard of this static. Well, this is what we are talking about. This is static gradual understanding of carbon and its capture. So initially we knew that carbon, when it burns insufficiently, it produces that black soot. Yes or no? So that was black carbon. Now it was seen, in fact red I must remove because this is the latest entry. I'll tell you. This is very, very important. This came in the context of GHG. Greenhouse gases and their capture. We want to reduce them. So the process, I am sure you have always heard of this term, sequestration, carbon sequestration, fixing carbon. So where can we fix carbon? Something called as a carbon sink. So when you sequester, fix carbon in terrestrial ecosystems like forests, that's green carbon. When you do it in aquatic ecosystems, water-based ecosystems, that's blue carbon. And when you do it in inland freshwater bodies like lakes, that's steel carbon. So this terminology came in the context of greenhouse gas emission control. Okay, that red carbon is the latest entry. If you don't know about it, this applies to like in the regions, in the permafrost region, polar region, whatever biological matter is there, which is very well adapted, yes, to cut the albedo over there, that is called red carbon. So anyways, I'm not getting into that. Standard static question, answer is carbon captured by oceans and coastal ecosystems. No issues in that. So out of 4, 3 questions very, very clearly you could have converted it. Okay, perfect. So let's move further. Consider the following kinds of organisms. Now, not easy. Definitely not easy. Lot of overlap. I can see that huge overlap coming in with what? This overlap is with a lot of biology, zoology. That is what is coming into this. So what do we have in this? Consider the following kinds of organisms: copepods, cyanobacteria, diatoms. Which of the above are primary producers in food chains of oceans? So I don't know much about it. So how do I get into the answer on this? Get that? So I know something about, I have heard of something, foraminiferas. These are ocean deposits. Diatoms and ocean deposits. Cyanobacteria. This also. Copepod, generally I have not heard. And if we are talking about that, who is the primary producer? So I think bacteria, fungi and algae. These are the primary producers in aquatic ecosystems. So cyanobacteria, when I look at it, cyanobacteria fits into my bill. When it comes to diatoms and foraminifera, now that is something which I am a little confused with. Copepod, I want to tell you though, you may not be knowing, it's a consumer. it's not a producer, it's a consumer. So remember, in a food chain, producers are the ones which fix the sunlight. So it's a consumer. So moment I knew that cyanobacteria is there and copepod is not there, so my life becomes easy. Now I am looking at 2 is there, 2 must be there, 1 need not be there. So we are looking at this, answer comes this thing. Diatom foraminifera, well, generally you may not be knowing that. If you ask me as geography optional student, I teach them something about this is ocean bottom resources and deposits. So we are looking at these biological deposits. These are called oozes, ocean oozes. So this is something, like rather than confusing with that. So I went for this thing, cyanobacteria as one, and diatoms are coming as producers. Diatoms are coming as producers. Foraminifera are mostly calcium secreting microorganisms. So when we are talking about that, so yes, definitely this was one area, not easy, not easy. Going to the next one. I don't know whether this was easy or not. This was interesting. This question was very, very interesting. So let me see how many of you looked at this. So some animals to save themselves, they will turn around and they will roll themselves up. Yes, roll themselves up. And I'm sure you've played that famous game, Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog, it's a coin race where this hedgehog is running, and when it wants to kill the enemies, just like a Mario game, remember? If some of you have played that game, so that gives you the answer ki bhai hedgehog to ho gaya. Hedgehog is there, so we are getting 1. If you had played that game, 1 was there. Get that? Now we are looking at marmot and pangolin. Thoda sa agar apne, if you were reading any of those books, so some animals do roll up. See, hedgehog also has spines to protect, so it has a spiny protection, but this one is pangolin which rolls up. So the answer is 1 and 3. So the answer will be D delta. D delta. So maybe Sonic the Hedgehog would have helped you. Yes? Okay. So some people reminded of Sonic. Oh yes, definitely we are looking at life sciences, the overlap of life sciences coming into this. Whether it should be treated as environment or not, I don't know, but lot of this thing. And when I take this, it's a challenge. Okay, prelims is a challenge. So rather than running away from it, we must know when to roll up. Yes or no? Like these animals. So Sonic was one thing which I moment I read the question, I said, yeah, the game which I used to play in my childhood days, that helped me. Okay, so that's elimination also working. So both these questions, so samples very close to life sciences, and I told you with the forest services coming in, science, overlap of science is big on the paper now. With reference to New York Declaration of Forest, which of the following statement is correct? Now when we are talking about this, I want to tell you that forestry, international initiatives on forest and their growth. Yes, I think there was this Bonn Convention and Bonn Agreement which people were talking about on forestry. So this is about a declaration which the multiple agencies, let me highlight this, multiple agencies, government, big companies and indigenous communities in 2014 under the aegis of UN Climate Summit, they decided to do something about the forest. So this is the UN New York Declaration of Forest under the aegis of UN, and many things happened under this, and the intention is to end deforestation by 2030. Now that's a very, very ambitious target, and I am sure like some of you who've been keeping track of this, Norway became the first country to officially ban it. So this was the target, and in this, imagine who's involved. Governments are involved, businesses are involved, and even the local people are involved. So this is something very, very powerful. It endorses the global timeline to end the forest loss. Yes. Yes. The only thing which is not there and which has not made it contentious is legally binding. No, it is not legally binding. It is not legally binding. So this is what made this only thing, like contentious. So 1 and 2 were there and 3 was not there. So 3 out. We are left with this. So sometimes, like you can't have all the energy to find out, and verify all the statements. It's after many, many years that I am seeing 5 statements. It takes time to read them. 5 statements. My answer was here out in 3 statements. My answer was here out in 3 statements. So that's what we are talking about. So answer is A alpha. A alpha, that gave me the answer. Is everyone clear with this? Next question we are looking at. Any doubts coming from the students? Somebody says, I hope I'll qualify. Yes, definitely. Don't worry. We are looking at this question. This paper has been challenging, and if you've written the examination, the gap between prelims and mains is very less. The gap between prelims and mains is very, very less. And I'm very sure that you have kept your optional also aside. This is the time to make sure that you manage your time and do not be in this dilemma whether I'll clear or not. You've given your best. You have given your best. There were certain hidden challenges in the paper. So don't worry. Everybody has faced that. So stay positive on that. Again, I don't know where do I put this into environment or biology. But if you ask me, who's a filter feeder? Filter feeder is, like something they are not actually going and feeding on a prey. There is a flow of the medium, and within that medium, they are able to extract food. Say, for example, flowing water through which oyster can extract food. So the answer to this was C. Charlie, oyster. Now, such questions, one word answer, you have no way to eliminate. Previous one, when I showed you, you could have eliminated. These ones are, make or break. So I would very, very clearly say that these are certain things where you should not be going for a fluke. Yes. So I would say, like we are taking risk. We tell our students, like at least go for a hit of 85. At least if you can go further, that's okay. But when you are hitting on that, the sword of negative marking is also on you. So you should go for logical guesses. You should always go for logical guesses, not blind guesses. So this was something, like where if you did not know, I would suggest that you could have saved time. But logical guesses is what I would want to demonstrate in the next one. Okay. So what do we have? Filter ho gaya. Okay. So where are we? Yes. Which of the following is a detritivore? Detritivore is what? Herbivore, carnivore. You've heard of detritivore. Now this is again a question of static. Herbivore, carnivore, detritivore. Yes. So if you read any standard book, as I said, like many people keep on asking me, sir, no NCRT for environment. I said Dirac-Barucha is a good UGC proposed curriculum. Earthworms feed on the dead. Yes. If you ask me jellyfish, I would say I have my doubts. Many of you have never seen a jellyfish, but I have seen jellyfish floating in seawater, and generally it's not that they are scavengers or they are looking for that food. So jellyfish is not there. Yes, we are looking at that. Then comes millipedes. Millipedes are the ones which, like millions of feet. So millipedes, I can see them because I have seen earthworms and millipedes, they are there. Then we have the seahorses. Seahorses and jellyfish. We have seen that they've brought in 2 marine species, and seahorses are definitely not detritivores. So my 4 was missing. Answer comes C. Charlie. Answer comes C. Charlie. Again, the question is, were you aware? Did you read some basic books on this? Detritivores, these examples come, and seahorse is not something, like which is eating that. Thoda sa awareness was needed in this. So I would say good question. Because I'm a teacher, I've been teaching all this for last 15 years. For me, it might come easy, but for you, it would definitely be a challenge. But I could see there were clear grounds of ruling out jellyfish and seahorse are not dead feeders. They are not dead feeders. So that's my answer. Is everyone okay with this? Going further. Common metric. I see one question probably has not shown here. Which of the following biogeochemical cycles of weathering is the main source of release of nutrients to enter cycle? So there was this question. So people who have written this examination, I don't see it on the slide coming in. I think one of them has been missed. So we are looking at phosphorus cycle as the answer. Phosphorus and sulfur were confusing, but sulfur comes from other sources also, not just land. So phosphorus for that. So not here. Common carbon metric supported by UNEP has been developed for. Now again, they did not ask you a particular summit or something. They are looking at, this is the second question. This is the second question coming, rather not second, third question coming in terms of carbon and its capture. So sequestration is a very, very big issue. So common carbon metric. Metric, the word metric somewhere should give you a hint of measure. So we are measuring carbon, and UNEP is supporting it. So why would we measure carbon? Measure carbon because we want to quantify, mathematically find out how much emission and who's making that emission and to what extent we need to control. So this is something, my guess is that, it is a metric on that. Assessing carbon footprint. So what is footprint? Carbon footprint is your impact. It's a measure of your impact on the ecosystems. Oh yes, I can go for this. Enabling commercial farming entities around into carbon emission trading. No, it was more about measuring, not trading. And in fact, I haven't seen, like such easy options available that commercial farming is coming into carbon emission trading. So that's somewhere I would put a question mark on that. Enabling governments to assess the overall carbon footprint caused by their country. Now this is something which is pretty close. This is pretty close. Again a measuring. So my options are A and C. Assessing the overall carbon footprint caused by the use of fossil fuel of the world in a unit time. So now this also is assessing. So I think B though is nowhere there. 3 are assessing it. Now what we are looking at is unit time. This is a pretty close confusion. This one and this one are the choice which we had to make. Now this is a very specific question which has come. It is about building operations around the world. So it is a metric which is developed about how buildings in different regions of world are created and how to measure their carbon footprint or their impact, so that a comparative analysis can be done, so that policy decisions can be made. And this is what we are looking at. So this is 29A. Get that? Okay. Let's go to another one. Which of the following species can establish symbiotic relations? So again, a lot of involvement of biology and symbiosis. I don't know. The word symbiosis is coming as part of environment or ecology. That's what we have taken it in. So we have put it over here. Cnidarians, fungi, protozoa, all of them. Cnidarian, fungi, protozoa, all of them are lower organisms. So when we are looking at them, they are into symbiotic association. Symbiotic association is an association where two species come together. They come together for mutual benefit for each other. So cnidarians, fungi and protozoa, all three make symbiotic relationships with another organisms, and as a result all three are correct on this. Is everyone okay with this? Any questions if I look at that? Oh, exam was easy, hard work paid off. That's good. Whosoever is writing that, we wish you luck for that, because that's your entry ticket to the next level of the examination. So this is what we had to offer you on the discussion. With this I come to an end of the discussions which were happening, and I would like to invite all of you for the special free classes. The link has been put in the description. All your leading educators who have given you a key, a general key, so that you can compare with it, they would go for a detailed discussion on that. We would love to see you in that session. The link in the description will tell you how to get into that portal. So all those things, and apart from that, we would be very proud to be a part of your civil services journey to clearing it to the top ranks. So all your top educators are waiting at the end of this session. So thanks a lot for being such a patient and participative audience, and we wish all the students who have given this examination today all the very best, and prepare for your main examination. Maybe you are tired, so take a small vacation, because the gap between prelims and mains is very, very limited this year. Make sure you balance out things. Do not overdo either your optional or just GS. Balance them up. Yes, definitely at the same time play to your strength. Play to your strength. Whatever is your weakness will also, like you need to look at, whatever is your weakness, if you can convert that into your strength. And don't forget, essay is an important paper. Essay also gives you very, very good marks. And I've seen so many selected students getting 140 out of 200. Imagine 70% of the marks. So make sure you focus on that, and we would love to see you in that 6 o'clock free special classes. So make sure you quickly look at the link in the description and do log in there. So it will take a small little time to get enrolled into that, and you can be a part of those amazing sessions. Thanks a lot. Bye bye. Take care, and all the very best for your results.